Hey everybody, welcome back to the Danger Planet. Today we're talking about the Woe keyword.
Whoa.
Okay, nice. Very good, very good. All right. So this is going to be an interesting episode, everybody. We are doing the Woe keyword with Pandora. We have Haku and Landon, as always. Guys, say hello.
Hey, everyone.
Yo, yo, yo.
And today, we have, for the first time on the channel, special guest Dixon from the Rage Quit Wire. Dixon, say hi to the internet.
Well, hello there.
Oh my gosh. I think we met for the first time not too recently at the Texas bit there, but obviously, you guys have been on the scene doing the interweb Malifaux stuff for a while, so I've seen a bunch of your videos, and I'm super pumped that you could come on, especially after we had Pete on for Sandeep, which I think as of recording has not yet been released, but will be released very soon. Neat. What do you think, Pandora? You like her? She seems like a master.
I absolutely love her. She was probably the first Neverborn. No, she was the second Neverborn master that I played, and I just couldn't stop after a while. I was like, oh my god, I played like 30 games with this woman now.
Yeah, understandable. I read the card, I think, as after I had gotten through a couple games with Titania, and I was like, I'm buying this crew. And then I spent way too much time and money looking for the fancy Rotten Harvest Pandora stuff, because, like, Witchy Pandora is just so much cooler. And I love them pumpkin boys, And
exactly like that, too, because I started with Titania. When I came to M3E, I was still an Outcast player because I've always been an Outcast player, and I was like, no, I need to change. So after like about 2 months of playing Outcast, I swapped to Neverborn, and I picked up Titania first, played her like 5 games, and then as soon as I switched to playing Pandora, I just couldn't stop. I was like, oh my god, I love this woman.
Yeah, Pandora is a hell of a drug for those not in the know. But I guess we should probably just snap right into it. So obviously there are 2 versions of Pandora. We have the original Pandora, who is sort of more, I think, of a control build. She's got all kinds of awful things that she likes to do to her opponents. Pandora 2 has a little bit of summoning involved, and is a little bit angrier, and there's some other cool things that you can do with like hazardous bubbles and stuff. But Dixon, do you want to talk about Pandora 1 and I'll take 2? Hey everybody, this is Future Editing Brandon here. Just jumping in to let you know that we actually have been sitting on this video for a little while for a bunch of reasons, but long story short, we recorded this video before Ashes of Malifaux had gone live, so Dixon, Landon, and Haku aren't going to be talking about Delirium or Delirious Thralls at all. I'm going to put those guys at the end, and we'll basically add them in post. So don't freak out. We will talk about them, or at least I will, a little bit towards the end of the video. And thank you for bearing with us. Back to your regularly scheduled Danger Planeting.
So they're both very. How can I even say this? They punish you. They're very punishing.
That is sort of her mechanic, right?
Yeah, like her mechanic says misery, but in reality, it's like she's castigating you for how dare you put conditions on you. All basically that she does is play around with conditions. Everybody in the crew has opportunists or the misery keyword. What that does is, whenever you get a condition that's in the opportunist or stun, because stun is everywhere in the keyword, you either suffer 1 damage or move 2 inches. And with opportunist, what that does is you can remove whatever condition's there or stun to get a plus flip on a duel against that person. Do I just keep on going?
Yeah. No, that's great. It's Opportunist is super super good, especially with Pandora 1, right? She has Opportunist anything. Every other model basically has Opportunist a specific thing, except for the minions, which are all stun only. And the nice thing about Opportunist is that it just has to be an opposed duel. It doesn't have to be an opposed duel with an opponent's model. So sometimes you can rip them off your own things for a huge benefit as well.
Actually, 50% of the gameplay with Pandora 1, I find that it's ripping it off of opponents at the right time. To basically get into the whole thing with her, without going card, everything in it, whenever your opponent comes
you can if you want to. I mean, I would say if you want to talk about some of the highlighted bits from the card, like I would definitely talk about mood swings. That's really important.
I mean, literally everything in the front of the card of Pandora is like gold. Everything in front of the card is what makes her. The actions, self-loading is great, but she doesn't actually use it as often. Fear's given form, rarely if ever have I ever had the use for it. Despair's influence, almost every single activation I get to use it once. Grasping Tentacles, if you did a good job positioning her, you're always going to cast that. And finally, the box opens, which is the thing that she's known for. Giving out stun and 2 damage, and technically 1 more damage to 1 more person, that's insane. But yeah,
that's Damien's totem, right?
Say again?
That's just Damien's totem. That seems weird to have on a master.
I mean,
all right.
Having the lament configuration. No. Having the lament configuration be a model is awesome. I'm sorry, but I love that little totem.
It is, but he did steal Pandora's action.
Yeah, it's fine. He can have it.
Yeah, I think it's slightly lower stat, right? It's like 614 instead of 714.
I mean, yeah, but
you can get a 10 for it. Yeah,
like anybody that loves Hellraiser, you can't get mad at that. I love Hellraiser. That's the reason why I know about it.
Yeah, Doug has been on a Hellraiser kick for the past couple of weeks. So every time I go over to his house, he's like, "You want to watch some Hellraiser?" And I'm like, I think we've watched like 5 of them at this point. And I guess there was a new one that got filmed on just Hulu, straight to Hulu last year. Yeah, wild.
Yes. I think that one does a significantly better job to make the Cenobites like a thing than the other movies. In the other movies, the Cenobites are just like weird, creepy stuff.
Right.
But in the new movie, I think it's better.
Okay, so just as an aside though, so we're ranking. Are we putting the 2022 Hellraiser in auto include? Some matchups are never higher.
Oh, Pandora, the first one,
the Hellraiser movie.
Oh,
auto include the 2022 one, the new one.
I'm gonna say behind Hellraiser 2.
Gee, okay, that's
so. I will say Hellraiser 1, then 2, then the new one. Then I forgot the name of one. I don't know if it's the 3 or 4 or 1.
Don't give the internet everything, because we'll have you back on for the Hellraiser keyword tier list.
Oh, okay.
Right? But just a sneak peek of thing. Peek of list to come. Any other I guess call outs or thoughts on Pandora? I think Mood Swings is probably the front of card ability that I really.
Yeah. Between Mood Swings and Dark Thoughts, the defensive trigger, that's how you keep her alive at least for 3 turns while 6 models are attacking her. Like, that's an exaggeration. Usually it's like 3 models are trying to get rid of her, but those 2 abilities put together, Mood Swings and Dark Thoughts, is literally how she stays alive.
I just love the control aspect of Mood Swings. It's so rude. There are so few models in the game that really like mess with your opponent's activation order, and the ability for you to just run Pandora up, park her in the middle, and then when they try and get near her, you're just like, nope, you can't activate. Instead, you have to.
Yep.
It's wild stuff.
And you are the one that's choosing. Granted, you have to discard a card or a pass token, but the fact that you are the one that's choosing, that's just insane.
Yeah, it's right up there with Seal Fate on Zoraida, but Pandora 2 I think plays a pretty similar game in a lot of ways. She does not have Terrifying 13 anymore; that's gone, and she doesn't have the defensive trigger. And they've changed her a lot. If you haven't seen her since the 2022 erratas went out at the end of last year, they sort of changed her Luck Thief, Wicked Doll Threaten situation because she can't unfortunately gain Adversary anymore.
I miss that
I miss that too. It was great. So Luck Thief is an ability that basically negates all of your opponent's positive flips and turns them into negative flips. So she can really, it's very, very difficult to get her. She can just bake in a plus flip to any defense duel she wants, and she can always cheat fate with the top card of her deck. The other thing that Pandora 2 does for the crew is, Dixon mentioned the Misery and Opportunist situation. So Misery, whenever somebody gains an ability or stunned, a condition or stunned that's specified by the model's Opportunist ability, you get to ping them for damage or move them to. But with Pandora 2, if you ping them for damage, you may also move them to, which is really strong because it gives you access to both of those abilities. Other than that, she can. She gets to draw a free card at the end of her activation, which is really nice. She has a bunch of neat abilities on the backside of her card. I think pretty much her main attack, Weight of Despair, is the one I use the least. She has an ability called Woe which let her summon her Woe minions, which is new to Pandora. In Pandora 1, there's no summoning ability at all, and it's really, really easy to summon a minion with Pandora 2. The only requirement is that you have a target that is stunned. And since basically the whole keyword has an ability as a bonus action to stun somebody, that should be happening pretty frequently. Her no shelter here is, I think, its own play style in and of itself. It has this really, really interesting push effect, but then also it makes other enemy models treat the area around the model that you pushed as hazardous. And there's some really nasty things that we'll get into later on where you can stack hazardous auras to get like 3 pings of hazardous multiple times in a single activation on a model. And then her last big thing is compounding emotions, where she gets to mess with conditions in a whole new way, where she just chooses 2 models, ends a condition on each, and then gives both of those models a different new condition. So you can like rip your opponent's focus and rip your slow to give you fast and them stunned. You can do all kinds of things.
That is, I would dare say that that's like 90% of the power on Pandora 2 is between that and Luck Thief.
Yeah, Luck Thief amazing, but compounding emotions is so critical.
Yes.
And it's just choose 2 models, right? So like if you Woe me to summon a model off of your opponent's model that's stunned, your model comes in with slow. You can end that slow and turn it into a shielded, and now your ghost that has a life drain aura and is incorporeal just suddenly also has a shielded on him and is sitting in the middle of your opponent's crew, pinging them for health every time they activate.
Yep. Sorrows. Yep.
There's so many things. Ripping stun to end fast, to give fast. Ripping focus to give shielded. They're ripping stun to get focus. There's so many things that you can do with it. It is an incredibly versatile ability. It also pulses out a heal to all keyword models if you get a mask, and on the ram trigger. You can pulse out more damage to enemy models that you ripped stun off of, which you could just put right back on if you want. Pandora 2 is, I think, a hell of a glow up on Pandora. Pandora 1, I think, definitely has legs, but I Pandora 2 all the way.
Especially in GG, and especially in GG4, like in GG3, where you had to fight more in a zone. There were more matchups where Pandora 1 was like a pick, but now I reach probably 4 to 5 games I go for Pandora 2.
Yeah. I think in almost every strategy I would rather just have Pandora 2. Maybe Raid the Vaults I think might be a stronger case for Pandora 1 because you just want to be more centrally concentrated. But
not even because of Exposed Fears. Because like Exposed Fears, you can do damage and move somebody out of the way.
Yeah.
And because she has Luck Thief, being in the area makes it so that like, okay, I can try to kill her, or else she's gonna continue putting stun and slow, or fire, or poison, or whatever the heck I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah, she is a certain lady, and I think whoever we make tell you how to beat her at the end is going to have their work cut out for him.
I will say Pandora 1 with the hysteria on her shockwave, it's now not terrible to purposely fail in your own minions. So a little out of movement effect sometimes matters in some of these strats. So she got a little buff there.
I'm sad that you can't take that with Pandora 2, right? We should get Pandora 2 Mass Hysteria as a trigger somewhere. That'd be wild. Maybe on No Shelter here.
I mean, I can't agree with that. She's already so dang good.
Yeah, she's Yeah, for I think for a long time I was very on Pandora as the best master in Neverborn. But I don't know
It
that that's
feels like
necessarily
that.
true anymore because obviously now we have henchman-led crews by Angel Eyes, but you know, we'll
Hinamatsu,
get there.
I dare say that
Hinamatsu
Hinamatsu is
crew.
a significantly better henchman to lead crews. I don't know if anybody else in this call wants to agree with me, but she's pretty good.
I am a very outspoken proponent of the Hinamatsu crew. I bought all of the Chiangong models so I can do it, and I have every puppet in the game.
Yeah.
I've never played it in a tournament, but I've wanted to
I have.
for a long time.
I have.
I saw you.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
think
I'm
so did
waiting
Haku.
for David to say something, but he seems to be very quiet. I don't know why.
I don't know. Hinamatsu, fine in a tournament. I don't. I don't know. That game was interesting.
That game was interesting.
Yeah, Dixon and Haku had a very down to the wire game.
I mean, did it? I mean, not to be like not to be like actually like joking, but didn't that come down to time? Like, wasn't I winning the game except for we got to the end of round like.
Game ended like 7-2 me.
Oh no, right. I'm thinking of a different game. No, that was the game where
wasn't even close.
That was the game where I just failed. I like black jokered or you red jokered Colette defense flip. I couldn't kill Colette.
Oh,
I couldn't kill the duet, and then I just lost the duet.
You shot the duet, failed to actually kill them because of a black joker, and then I healed them back up, and then duet proceeded to give me like 3 more VPs
I put
after
way
that.
too many resources into duet. Hinamatsu really good because duet is an utterly god-broken model.
It's so good.
Wild.
So yeah, no.
One of these days we'll have to
that
do.
game.
One of these days we'll have to do the puppet keyword tier list. But,
oh, for sure.
And when we do, Dixon, you're on deck.
Thank you, man.
We will definitely. You are absolutely 1,000% the first person I'm going to call. But that I think that covers pretty much all the cases for both Pandoras for the moment. So let's talk about the Totem, who I'm just going to go ahead and slot into auto include because you get it for free, and also it's like one of the best totems in the game.
Easy.
So Poltergeist is 5 health incorporeal, which isn't great. He has distraction, which is a willpower negative aura. He has opportunist and stunned, just stunned, and then misery. And like I guess he stops enemies within 6 from having ruthless, which is kind of a thing that I think I've never had happen ever, but it is potentially reasonable. It stops the crews a bunch of terrifying models from not being terrifying.
Yep.
He has the standard willpower attack that everybody in the entire crew has, Glimpse of Insanity, 8 inches away, target gains stunned. He has an okay melee attack, but the real deal of this totem, the powerhouse ability is telekinesis, pulse 4 inches, suitless 5, remove all markers within range. It is there's a trigger that you can pulse out a willpower duel or push away from him, which okay, cool, but a 50 mil model has a 4-inch aura around it of remove all markers.
50 mil incorporeal model, meaning that he can be basically in any area because he's incorporeal, so he can go through models, terrain, whatever.
Yep, and he's size 3, so he can see over pretty much everybody.
Exactly. So it's obscene because it can be game winning on the spot. It's like, oh, there's like 5 corpses that you need or whatever kind of markers. Boom, done.
Yeah, there are like any marker master as a general rule. If you're even slightly shaky about Pandora being a thing that your opponent might have, it's difficult to even want to declare them, right?
Yeah.
Poltergeist auto just is so unbelievably impactful in that matchup, and in Pandora 2, she can summon him back.
And that right there is the reason why I would consider it one of the best totems in the game. Before Pandora 2, he just dies. Because he was like a ginormous target. Everybody and their mothers is like, okay, hunt that thing down. He can't survive. Like if he
for
does,
good reason, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like he's like distraction aura alone was like, I need this thing dead, right?
Yeah.
But now with Pandora 2, it's like, okay, you killed it because you had to kill it. I'm just gonna summon it again. I'm like, you mother, it's terrible.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, also, it's a 4-point significant model, and it being super cheap points wise is super relevant for a bunch of schemes now, but it's a 4-point incorporeal speed 6 model that is significant, and its worst case scenario is it runs around and schemes for you, running anywhere it wants.
In nowadays, because of the changes to some of the strats, like in Cloak and Dagger, he can still steal intel tokens. So even if you summon him back, he'll be able to steal stuff.
Yeah, which is just bonkers good. So like I just there is never a world where you don't hire totems anymore, because that one strat that is a thought on is not a thing, unless you're playing GG all. But like Poltergeist is so unbelievably strong.
Yep.
Anybody, Landon, you got any thoughts on Poltergeist?
Yeah, it's weird that you guys talk up telekinesis so much because it's just not been relevant in games I've played against Pandora, but maybe that says more about the crews I play than the model itself.
Yeah. Have you ever played like a marker heavy crew against Pandora?
I mean, I don't tend to play a ton of marker heavy crews and thunders. We have one, and it's Mei Fang. But
I've played a couple games with Pandora against Mei Fang. Let me just tell you,
it sounds like
nuts.
a time.
Oh
I think
my
undoubtedly
god!
now though, with like so many just inherently drop scheme marker schemes.
Yep.
Like you can have a whole pool where, because like some of them care about max scheme markers on the board, you're just dropping them in your deployment zone to deny.
Yeah,
it's going to be so huge to have it in this current
you
GG.
summon, like this has happened so many times now that you summon him in the middle of the enemy crew, remove the slow, give him shielded, and now unless they have a beater that can do 6 damage like to him in one hit, he is going to activate and do telekinesis and just like sometimes wins you the game on the spot because they just remove their ensnare or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's
but
just
really,
like stupid.
Really, what I wanted to get to is that it felt like you guys either downplayed or didn't really hype up distraction as much as I would have liked. As that ability is like incredibly central as to why he has this target put on his head, because it puts you at a negative to willpower duels, and willpower duels is what half the freaking keyword does.
Yeah,
I don't disagree that is what puts a target on his back, and that is incredibly powerful when you're like directly killing a model. You're absolutely right on that. But in this GG, the telekinesis has been like game winning for me more than in any other GG that I played him in.
Yeah,
interesting.
My distraction point is that he is just 5 health incorporeal with no other defensive tech unless you're attacking with willpower.
Sure, but with like Pandora, you summon him to where he needs to be, and then your opponent's already on negatives to willpower duels, and you have like 2 more AP at that point in time.
Yeah.
No, actually, unfortunately, at least the opponents that I played are smart enough to not leave something that has stun ready for Pandora to activate and then shoot it off the table. They usually activate
so long as they have
to...
any condition whatsoever, though, you can just give them stun for your bonus and then summon a Poltergeist and then shoot him to death. But yeah, it's more situational at that point in time. I can agree, but
it's like timing. Like you're right against like normal like casual opponents. I run the gamut of like, oh, you have conditions on you, like shielded. I'm so sorry for you. Remove that. Do this other nasty thing to you. But like against good opponents, sometimes you have to just like, okay, now I activate X model, put a condition on you. Hopefully, it'll stick there for one activation, and usually they don't do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Haku, you want to tell us about Poltergeist? Any thoughts?
No, I mean that was pretty in depth.
Wild. Yeah, Poltergeist, hell of a model. Get the pumpkin one. He's worth it. That's all I've got to say about Poltergeist. Let's talk about the original tiny goth lady mama herself, Candy.
I don't think Candy's a mama.
She is. She's
like
goth.
200 to 300 years old. She is.
Yeah. She's an ancient being filled with innocence corrupted.
Literally, she is the embodiment of corrupted innocence. It's just that she looks like a child because of it.
Yeah, it's great. I guess Dice sort of filled us in lore-wise at the beginning of this episode. But all the woes are these like primordial beings, and they're super cool. And Candy's a cool lady. But Candy is probably the only model really in this keyword that gets a crap load of out of keyword play.
It's the only in keyword model that is auto include.
And so if you're a Neverborn player and you're not in like a casual-ish meta, you're probably going to want to buy the Pandora core box just for this model because she fits in anywhere. She does really, really good things. She obviously has Opportunist and Misery. Her Opportunist condition is fast, which I don't think that I've ever got to end fast off of an opponent's model, but there are cases where that might be a thing. but her big deal, I think, is her defensive trigger, disarming, which is built in on defense. She can declare it on willpower, but you'll need the Crow, where if your opponent's attacking her and doesn't declare a trigger, they're doing 2 less damage. So that's one thing. And then if she hasn't activated yet, if an enemy model starts within 4 of her, they have to discard a card and are stunned, which then means that they won't be able to declare triggers, which means they won't be able to damage her effectively, or they'll be at 2 less damage.
I love that you pass by the discard a card part so quick.
Yeah, discard a card and stunned. It's not optional. You have to do both.
Yes.
So in general, she has the self-loading that Pandora has. She has Glimpse of Insanity that the whole crew has with a burnout trigger, which is really, really strong, especially in Pandora 2, where you stun and make your models fast, then end the stun to give them focused, and then you have a fast focus model after Pandora activates. It's great. She has another AoE slow willpower attack that's fine. Bloody Display, also fine. It pushes people away. It's the same thing the other guy did. And she has some in keyword healing that can also burn out, which is very nice. And she's manipulative, so until she activates, she goes. But in general, Candy, you want to go ahead and throw her up in the middle of some stuff, get your opponent all stunned and hand empty, and then, I don't know, profit. Right, Dixon?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Oh yeah, no, literally, I'm letting you cook, because she is the most auto-include model in the game, probably for any crew.
Yeah. If you've seen any of our Neverborn tier lists before this, you have seen Candy, because we talk about her every time. She's really, really strong, and if you have ways to ferry her up the board like the Kurgan and the Hooded Rider that we'll talk about later, getting her into position before she activates, so your opponent has to get stuff, is great.
Yep. Yep. It's we'll talk about it much later, but there's another model that is an auto include in Pandora because of Candy.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider dropping Candy out of the crew if people could say ignore triggers or just not gain stunned or something weird like that?
No.
Or is the rest of her utility better than just Corrupted Innocence?
No, her utility is more than the Corrupted Innocence. Corrupted Innocence is just the easiest way to apply pressure to a crew. So her self-loading alone, the fact that she can do self-loading and do +1 damage, sometimes is all you need to win a game.
So help me understand why self-loathing is such this, huge thing for an 8-stone henchman to include in every game, right? So
yeah.
It's an attack, but it's only really a powerful attack against models with decent defenses for the most part, right?
Or powerful attacks
if you're trying
themselves.
to pick off the small stuff is usually not going to have as good of an attack to copy. So what makes self-loathing so integral in your mind?
No, it's she takes out other beaters and she takes out other crews that like to bubble. And honestly, I want to say in the last 20 games, she's healed probably twice because of everything else in her kit. Self-loading, say, let's talk for an example, something that I just played recently. I played against McMorning 2, right? And there's a number of models in the crew that self-loading is not good for. Why? Because they all have hard wound, right? But you can still hit them for 3 damage minimum and still do 4 damage because of hopelessness, the trigger. So 4 damage will chunk out any beater, and she gets to do it twice, and then her bonus action gives out burnout. If they're within 6 inches of her and another model in Woe, that's 4 damage again. So she can do very easily, for very little resources, 12 damage to a beater because they happen to have minimum damage 3. It happens all the time.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I think out of all of the Pandora abilities that I've probably used the least of, I think self-loathing is a thing.
Yeah.
I really like the AoE slow, even though I think it's bad. I just like the idea of slowing a bunch of my opponent's models. But
Temper Tantrum.
Temper Tantrum. It's my favorite. I love Temper Tantrums. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, I think self-loathing, certainly min-3ing beaters as many times as they need to be, right?
Oftentimes it's min 4 because I'll spend a soulstone or cheat a card, and usually you don't need that much higher, especially if you're playing against things like Restless and Bayou. Their willpower is 4.
Yep, makes sense. Landon, any other thoughts on Candy?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Haku, what you got?
Auto include in almost all of Neverborn. So yeah, in its own keyword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's insane. Yeah.
What a lady. All right, well, let's talk about the next auto-include Pandora keyworded henchman. Carver, we did it. So, yeah, man, this pumpkin-y boy, he's great. What a lot of people don't know about Carver, and I think why I'm going to convince you all to put him in auto-include, is because when you get the model, it actually comes with a pumpkin head or like a leather-face scarecrow head. And if you're a little clever with a little bit of green stuff, you can put both of them on, and that's what I did.
So sometimes the painting requirement, the reward for best artist, you have to play with the models you brought.
That's true.
So sometimes you just have to play with Carver.
Yeah. Or if
you know you're not going to win the tournament but want to win painting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100% do it that way.
Especially if your painting judge, right, is into incredibly ripped, like super shredded dudes, then you just need to get the Carver Iconic model, which if you have not seen that model, I will put a picture of it up on the screen now. Oh boy, is he ripped. That's all I got. Don't play him. No, he has some stuff that's okay. Like he's ruthless.
Yeah.
His opportunist is focused, which people can't remember. That just doesn't exist. I don't know. It's like Zoraida's look at cards ability. People forget focused, and then you're like, okay, I'll end your focused before you get to spend it to get plus flips on this attack. And like, he is a stat 7 min 3 beater because he's a 2/2/4 with crit strike built in. But like,
No, he 100%. There's only two reasons why you bring this model, and it's ruthless and opportunist. Whatchamacallit, focus. That's it. This is literally the only two, and it's so rare when you absolutely need to bring that. I would say maybe 1 out of 10 games I need to bring Carver, and I'm not happy doing it. It's like he's such a bad model, but he's like one of 3 sources in the entire faction that has ruthless.
Yeah. Yep. Defense 5, willpower 6. It's like fine. He's movement 5. He's size 3. He doesn't really have. He has terrifying 11, but aside from that, he doesn't really have any defensive tech. So this 10 health henchman that is like kind of a beater. I mean, maybe you like get a good hit on him and play a good ram card, and then he's min 4. But like, Breath of Fire is okay.
Breath of Fire has been getting a lot more play whenever I have to bring him because of the Up in Flames trigger. Yeah. It's like 1,000% the only reason why like he's more viable in GG4 is because of that trigger.
Yeah, breathe on something 6 inches away, remove all the scheme markers with
it. But that's pool specific.
Yeah.
And again, matchup specific, you have to then make sure that he can survive because he hates guns more than anything else in the world.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That is very much the problem with a lot of the Neverborn stuff and Carver in particular. We'll talk later about a couple other models that suck and they hate guns. I mean, but maybe he's at the top of never hire, but I just don't. I'm never gonna.
No. It's like middle. I'm with like most of the guys here that are probably just trying to hold their tongues. He's bad, dude.
Yeah. Landon, do you have any?
Okay. Can I sell you on sometimes higher for Pandora 1?
Okay.
Yeah. You already went over Breath of Fire being a really good action, but it's even better when you have Opportunist Burning in the crew, right?
Absolutely.
Which Pandora 1 will have, and if you take Iggy, you'll have 2, but, I don't know if I'm going to sell you on Carver and Iggy in the same crew.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I don't think I'm going to sell you on those 2. But at the very least, when you have Opportunist, literally anything you want, the Burning +1 turns this into like a min 3, ignoring friendly fire and cover stat 6 attack, which is not bad.
Yeah.
With all these blasts too.
Technically,
the blast is really what I'm going to try and sell you on here when I'm trying to get you to buy this bridge, all right? Because with Pandora 1, you have mood swings. And mood swings lets you, essentially dictate which one of your models your opponent's is going to go with, right? So long as they're within whatever thing. Yeah. So with all these pushes, you can get people to clump up, Fear's Given Form, the Miseries, all that. And so this double blast attack that's putting out burning, putting out conditions, like that seems like it could be pretty nasty in the right situations.
All right,
and,
now what if
we've already talked about Up in Flames as well.
Yeah.
You have another model that gives blasts that also creates a hazardous land that pushes people over.
Yeah, that costs the same
we
as
have
him.
that, and we have the Hooded Rider. Don't get me wrong, we got plenty of blast to work with here, right? But maybe you're like playing Golden Scorpius or some shit. I don't know. There's the second point though, which is maybe you see something across the table that doesn't draw a ton of cards and has a bunch of TM pressure, like I don't know, fucking Tara for example, and you're like, man, what would be cool against Tara? A ruthless executing model that I can build execute onto. And in Pandora 1, you can do those things.
Yeah. Again, he has those matchups. It's just not as often as you think.
Oh, for sure. I'm not arguing that this is an auto-include model or that you should ever hire this model in Pandora 2. But in Pandora 1, I can see some arguments that you left on the table.
Actually, on Pandora 2...
6 on Breath of Fire on your henchman that just fucking dies.
Yeah. What I was going to say with Pandora 2, sometimes you want to bring him because you're playing against wrestlers and they're going to do a whole bunch of focus. And in Pandora 2, she doesn't have Opportunist. So you have to bring a bubble that's anti... Yeah, it's so annoying. I'm telling you, like, I hate when I have to do it because it's like, I don't know if there's another better choice, but this is working, and I'm very mad that it's working.
The first, 6 times I read Carver, I thought he had Flurry, and he still doesn't.
Yeah, dude, why? And I've heard that people tell me, it's like, oh, well, you can give him fast. It's like, so? I want him to do 5 attacks.
Yeah, if that. I mean, the problem is he doesn't have, a bonus move effect, Yeah. If he had a bonus move effect, at least you'd be getting reliably in your 2, possibly 3, 4 attacks. His damage track is also just a joke. Why is it 2-2-4?
Because
is it really
Shears,
you can build in 2 crit strikes to
it.
So.
Yeah. Also, because Shears exists in the game already. Shears is on Girl with the Ghost Thingies and Wrestlers. Yeah,
so
that's the reason why.
You could have called it something else and just gave him a 2-3-4.
Giant cheers.
Yeah. Giant, yeah.
I don't know. All right. And make it 3-3-5. I'd be down.
I'd be down too.
I don't know that would fix this for 10 points, but man.
3-3-5, remove the ram. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Hear me out. I just have 2 things to say and then we can move on. I'm leaving him a never hire because I love the idea that Carver is effectively the scrap rights to the Eiffel Tower version of a Neverborn model. That's just a great mental image. But hear me out, right? Carver-led crew, you get Nightmare and Woe, and then you can remove cards from your deck and also have Candy in keyword.
No.
But what if I just spent the extra Soul Stone for Candy?
Yeah.
Wild.
Instead of bringing Carver in a Nightmare crew, you just bring Candy? Gasp.
Wild. All right. Well, moving on then. We have this boyo starting the enforcers off right, I guess, or wrong because I've never hired this model.
Yeah.
We have Iggy. He's a little guy. He's got manipulative, opportunist, burning. Carver interaction. We did it. And he's not very. He's very unimpressed, which is the best. The best defensive trigger, where he just takes 2 less damage if your opponent doesn't declare a trigger, which you may remember from Candy, although Candy's is called different for
Candy's works entirely differently because this is if you did declare a trigger, not if you didn't.
Correct.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
And Candy
he's unimpressed.
No, and Candy has it baked in, whereas he has to cheat the suit in for some reason.
Yeah, and all right, so hear me out. This guy's got Reckless as a bonus action, which is weird for Neverborn. But his 1-inch melee attack is a 2-3-4 that does burning with irrelevant triggers, and then his other attack is a shockwave that's irrelevant.
It's a little bit more relevant.
Blaze is sometimes relevant, but he doesn't have a tome.
Yeah, it's not built in. Well, I don't know why you'd hire this model. No, the little dragon costume boyo is adorable, but I probably wouldn't hire this guy really ever unless you're playing against the 1 fire crew and then you can opportunist it.
Yeah,
I did hire him 1 time against the Sonya crew and that was pretty worth it. But...
Just so you know, even against the fire crews, you have to give him Eldritch Magic.
Oh yeah, to stop the.
No, because he doesn't have
a ranged attack.
Exactly.
Ugh.
You literally have to give him Eldritch Magic so that he stays within Dispel Magic distance, so that then he can just hit it, immediately remove the fire, and whatever other condition they have on them.
I'm kind of mad that he doesn't have Glimpse of Insanity as a second bonus action.
Right? I mean, there's 4 models that don't have Glimpse of Insanity, and this one, more than any other model, probably should have it.
And look, if there's a guy who has a tragic enough background story, who is like an orphan that like survived his orphanage burning down, that should be able to glimpse some insanity, it's this kid. Okay.
Yep.
Come on, weird. What are you doing? Dixon, you got anything else to say about Iggy?
No, that's it. Literally, the only time you bring this guy is Eldritch. You give him Eldritch magic. You spend the points to remove fire and whatever else they have. That's it. He's
All
bad.
right, I'm gonna sell you another bridge.
No. Collapse
Because
those
I
bridges.
actually liked this guy pretty decently for plant explosives back in when we had the book era, right? Because this guy is a 6-point enforcer, and being an enforcer is important because it means he can hold 2 bombs, right? And he also has reckless, so he can drop 2 bombs in the same activation. So if you can just like create a safe enough space, or like the table's wide enough that he can just drop his bombs and then die, that's probably pretty okay for 6 points.
I've never played. I guess it's the type of opponents. Like every opponent that I have will throw like a first mate or an Archie or something of the equal magnitude to kill this guy in one hit.
Yeah, all of Neverborn has Angel Eyes now. Kills in 1 hit.
There's a lot of models.
There's like 10 models that legit just kill this in 1 hit from range.
Yeah, it's super dumb how easy this model is to kill.
Well, you see, Angel Eyes can't kill in 1 hit from range because you'll have any Crow to cheat for unimpressed.
That's true. That's true.
There you go.
Yeah, but then you'll probably have a low Crow, which will probably
shoot you twice.
I'm waiting for the joke or something, because it's like she does 7 damage. This thing has 6. Like, what are you smoking?
It reduces it by 2. 7 minus 2 is only 5 damage.
Yeah,
and obviously you'll just never use Reckless.
Never, right? That's the thing that I brought this model for.
The whole reason Landon thinks it could be viable for. You never use it.
Never use it.
Yeah. So Iggy, cool model. Get the dragon one to complete your nightmare Rotten Harvest Pandora, and then don't.
I have it. I'll mail it to you.
Nice. Yeah, do.
I'm 0 for 2 on my bridge selling. I got to step up my game.
All right. Well, here's
Maybe
hopefully
move to used cars.
Well, no. Well, maybe we'll see. So let's talk about this next guy. This is Dorian Crowe.
Yeah.
So Dorian Crowe is the model that you get if you buy Pandora 2.
Yep.
In the box with Colette. And I really like this guy. So he is a 7-stone enforcer with Don't Mind Me, which is a huge deal in GG4. He's incorporeal, which is nice. He's got a buttload of health at 7. He has Misery and Opportunist. His Opportunist is Distracted, which is neat because that's what his deal is, right? He gives out Distracted and Burning with this melee attack that doesn't do any damage, which is like, okay. Disapproving Glance is really good. He can only do it once per activation, but it lets you push a target towards a marker in its line of sight, which is just like good unpack ability. It's, messes with some stuff. If, let's say, one of those markers happens to be a hazardous marker and like 3 other hazardous auras, that's pretty strong. And then the big deal, he's boring conversation, like whatever, but Losing Interest is really strong. It's a pulse 6 move him and friendly unengaged models up to 2 inches with a trigger to heal or end a condition on 1.
That's super important because he can move himself even if he doesn't, even if he's engaged, because it doesn't say that he has to be unengaged.
Yeah. And like, it goes off on a suitless 4. It's really strong. It is super great for the unpack. And it's really, really helpful. I love this guy. I think he's really good. He's move 4, so he's not terribly fast outside of that, but he's got decent stats. He's an enforcer, which is like, meh. But you're not going to have him get into the back edge of the board unless you give him a ride. But I think Dorian Crowe is pretty much going to make it into every Pandora 2 crew for sure. I don't know if he's going to make it into every Pandora 1 crew, but I'd expect so. Dixon, what do you think?
Oh yeah, no, this guy is, depending on if you're playing like flank, I don't think he's auto include. I was very some matchups for both of them actually. Unfortunately.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Because the thing is, the only one, and I wasn't exaggerating, the only one that's like auto include in every single list is Candy. Everybody else is kind of like, okay, there's some merit. You know what I mean? This one though, he has more merit than pretty much everybody else, including Carver. that's stupid. Like that's actually how efficient he is. And the reason is because of boring conversation and summoning a poltergeist. Like if you put up boring conversation and put a poltergeist out, this guy's just sitting in a zone, almost impervious to like most characters in the game.
Yeah. Boring conversation and an egg flip is a hell of a drug. That's for sure. Anything else you want to cover with him, or bump it over to Landon?
Landon, no, he's very straightforward. Literally, it's boring conversation plus diversion. I mean, distraction is like super stupid.
Yeah. Landon, Dorian Crowe, what do you think?
Yeah, so like you'd have a hard time convincing me that a 7-wound enforcer makes it into auto include tier. Like he's definitely especially at move 4. So like he's not a model that's scoring you any points. He's not a model that does any damage. And I mean, Don't Mind Me is actually pretty good for points in some regard, but he has to be in the position to use it. And when he's
going to be in the position to use
if
it
he hasn't,
he can't go very far, right? So he's going to be trapped in the center of the board at best, which means he's going to be engaged. So Don't Mind Me is incredibly relevant on him.
Yeah, probably. But like without the shielded from lie down and nap, this guy is like actually pretty easy to take off the board. Like 1 severe or 8 will do it, or a couple of hits into his defense 5, no like defensive stuff other than incorporeal. So like he's got some reductions, which is helpful, but 7 health is 7 health. I don't know. He'll die.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, I will say, like, when are you not going to lie down and nap, right? You gotta.
When you haven't activated yet.
Well, yeah. I did that earlier today.
So my question for you guys actually is, do you guys ever find yourself like charging to just put a cigarette out in one of your own models just so you can take lie down and nap as like your last action, or are you usually just like
in Pandora 2, definitely, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. In Pandora 2, that happens pretty much every turn.
Yeah, he is crucial for the unpack in Pandora 2, because after he uses Losing Interest, he charges and puts somebody on Distracted and Fire, and then when Pandora goes, you don't have either of those things anymore. It's like really, really strong.
Yeah, Pandora only ends one of those conditions, right?
No, she ends both of the conditions and then puts 2 new conditions. She chooses 2 models, ends a condition on each, puts a new one on each. So you turn that
you put the burning and the distracted on the same model.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you put it on the same model.
So you're still left with one, which is, I guess, probably the distracted that you remove later. I don't know.
Yeah, distracted if it's not going to hit something, but otherwise burning.
I'll leave the fire, to be honest, because there's so much healing in the crew, it doesn't matter. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Or you've hired Iggy and take the assist action with a plus flip.
Stop trying to make Iggy a thing. Iggy's not a thing.
All right.
Unless you're playing against Karis, Sonya, or Riva. Those are literally 3.
the 3 games you take again. Also, I don't think you can assist because it's not a post. But look, it's fine. Haku, what do you think? Dorian Crowe? You love him? You hate him? You gonna find the painting of his face that's aged a bunch in the attic?
Yeah, no, I like him.
Is that the one that they forgot to paint in? Because it's great.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
No, you can leave distracted on him to then just push him with disproving glance, and then he removes it. Is the reason I normally would remove burning, but other than that, yeah, really good model. I agree with Landon though. Putting it in auto, I think is a little much. Unpacking is great. His slow moving up is kind of negative, but you can use him to reposition your models pretty well. So it's not like the biggest deal, but you get to. Yeah, he just dies. That's the main reason I don't really like him or want to include him.
I really rarely if ever get him to die before like turn 3 or 4, and by then he's like already done his job.
I don't know. I'm just used to playing crews. I could take him out very easily.
Yeah.
But you're kind of right. Like the other reason I don't mind it is because normally the way I'd play with him and specifically Pandora 2, where you're setting up like your bigger beater model.
Right.
Then you're like, oh, you're sinking like 2 big attacks into this guy, cheating the severes in to kill him.
Yeah.
Cool. You didn't do that to Hooded. You didn't do that to, whoever the hell else you're taking.
Well, also it's probably the way that I play is probably also the big difference, because I try to remove your conditions and punish you for them as much as possible. So oftentimes you'll either have stun or slow or something that actually makes it hard to directly hit this model. Yeah, but even taking that into account, there are models like I said, Iggy. Iggy still dies to a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, seven puts him a little bit higher with Incorporeal, but
he hits that threshold. At 7 health, he survives like one more turn.
Yeah. And if he, and then if he does survive, you heal him up with a couple different options. It depends, but I think that the versatility that he offers is totally worth it. And while we're on the topic of your opponents having slow, I guess, let's talk about the woe of betrayal. My ex-roommate. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. No, my bad. It's Baby Kade. So Baby Kade is this little lad. He literally is the woe of betrayal because he cries and then you're like, oh, it's a baby, and then you pick him up and he literally stabs you in the back with his crazy chef's knife. He's manipulative, he's got pounce, he's got opportunist slow, he's got misery, and he has an ability that lets you, if you hire him, hire Teddy, which is why you see Teddy in this tier list. Because I feel like it's weird to not talk about it. His melee attacks really good stat, but like sort of crap damage. He's got lore, which is nice if you're doing the hazardous nonsense. And then he has a bonus move action, which is called Where's Teddy, which synergizes with Teddy more. I have hired this model a handful of times. I don't really like him at all, but I don't know. Maybe Dixon, you have a different opinion.
No, he's bad. He's the only reason why you get Teddy is to deliver a fully buffed. I'm sorry, the only reason why you get Kade is to deliver a fully buffed Teddy into the enemy crew. He oftentimes dies turn 1 or 2. When he delivers Teddy, I usually win the game, but it's not guaranteed still. In our podcast, Pete and I played Tall versus Pandora, and I delivered Teddy, and I lost that game 6-5. Because I killed everything in his crew, but he already got in all his schemes.
Yeah. Yep, that sounds right. So, like, I don't know. I'm going to leave him. We're going to put Teddy presumably with him, but I think I'm going to put him. He's definitely going below Carver. There's no world that we're doing that. I don't know. Landon, what do you think? Baby Kade? You want to sell us another
bridge? I
liked
Baby Kade before we had Dorian Crowe and the Kurgan and a bunch of other models that helped unpack really effectively. Because before, that's kind of what he was. He was just an unpack machine.
Yeah.
Essentially, he would just like walk up, lure 2 of your models, and essentially just give you 2 AP for your better guys. But you have other models to do that now, so I can easily see where this is not the best choice for that.
Yep, makes sense. Haku?
Power creep OP.
Yeah. Baby Kade, we did it. Cool. Let's talk about Teddy real quick. I think we sort of covered basically. By we, I think that Dixon just sort of covered all of the case for Teddy in the Baby Kade shenanigans.
Yeah, because unfortunately they are a package deal because Teddy getting out of keyword without Kade, he loses like 10 inches of movement, and that's just not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, like. Teddy's a min-3 beater. He's got some effects. He's got Terrorize, which is nice. He's got I've got your back. But like at the end of the day, the only reason you're hiring this model is to put the hurt on something. And also he's still a defense 4 armor 1 guy.
Yeah. Terrifying every now and then can come in clutch, but in reality it's like the top end of 6 damage on his melee attack, 2-inch reach, and armor 1 are like the 3 things that you go, holy crap, in this matchup, this model is gonna wreck house.
Yeah. And if that's not the case, then you're not buying them.
What other model in Neverborn hits for 6 and has a 2-inch reach,
but doesn't have armor?
That's an interesting question.
No, this is important. Doesn't have armor, and Black Blood hurts you more than it hurts the enemy in many situations. In specifically in Pandora 2, Pandora 1. Yeah, you're right. I get a mature Nephilim all the time. That's the reason why I asked, please put one in there because he's key.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, fair enough. But, I mean, just saying, for 6 less points, you get a rider.
I'm not a fan of the rider, but somebody mentioned it in chat. I was like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, well, we'll talk about the rider because, Malifaux is revolting. But,
sorry.
Yeah. What did Haku got anything to say about Teddy? I assume not.
No.
Great, we did it. So let's talk about the first of the keyword minions. My favorite, the pumpkiniest boys in town, except for the other pumpkiny boys in this keyword. If you get the Rotten Harvest box, the Sorrow. So the Sorrow is the bread and butter of Pandora's crew. It's the normal. It's like a 5-stone minion. For a 5-stone minion, he's got Incorporeal and Life Leech, Opportunist on Misery, 5 health. All of his stats are 5. Everything about this guy's 5. He's got an okay attack. It has a built-in trigger that does a little bit more damage if you're stunned, and you can daze people, which stuns them. He can stun with his melee attack, and then I guess he has a tactical action.
I mean, the tactical action is I bring him for 2 things: tactical action and Life Leech.
Yeah. Love Life Leech. Huge fan. Talk to us about Misery Loves Company then.
So the tactical action is the main reason why I bring him, because he can teleport to friendly models and it's not a keyword lock. Mm-hmm. So even if I bring the Mature Nephilim in Pandora 1, he can still go with it. And granted, it's a 5-point minion, 5 health, and he has Incorporeal, but a top end 6 damage beater can still one-shot it. So you have to play... you cannot just like throw him out there and expect him to survive.
Yeah, and I think they're great summons in Pandora 2 because of Life Leech and the fact that they're incorporeal and a bunch of other things. But
yeah, you never hire on Pandora 2, but it's absolutely like a summon. So you're gonna see him in every game with Pandora 2.
For sure. Honestly, I think I'm going to put him above Carver in Pandora 2. Pandora 1, I think we're going to put probably at the top of sometimes. I mean, realistically, I think you're probably hiring
I would say, I mean, he's not auto-include because sometimes I don't want to bring any of them. But in most games, I want to say like 4 out of 5 games, I want to bring at least one of them. And literally it's because he can teleport to a friendly model.
Yeah. I'll leave him at the top of sometimes matchup for now, unless Landon or Haku have things to say. Landon, what you got? Sorrow.
I don't really like them, but I think the assessment's probably fair. They're cheap, and they offer a lot of potential damage just from auras by virtue of existing and kind of just being your backline interact AP. So, I don't know. They're okay.
Yeah.
I'm never excited about hiring one of these, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. Haku?
Bork.
Okay, well, calm down. We'll get to the Bork.
Getting there.
I've saved the Bork for last. Also, very related to everything about this model, Dr. Pepper just released, a company just released beans that have Dr. Pepper in them. I tried them yesterday. They're very good. I would strongly recommend them. Also, Pro-Acryl. Unrelated. Back to Aversion.
Is that our ad break?
That was our ad break, yeah. You'll have to Google it because I don't have them handy and I don't know what company makes them. So this isn't so much a plug for them. It's just a thing that's happening in my life.
That's pretty funny.
Serious Bean Dr. Pepper beans.
Yeah, they're sassy beans. They're salty and sassy and sweet, and those are the words on the can. Mm-hmm. No, they're really good. Strongly recommend these beans. Don't recommend Aversions. Okay, so no, okay,
that's actually a pretty hot take.
No, hear me out. Okay, so these guys are the other hireable minion in Pin. Oh, sorry, there's Lyssa. Like I said, they're the other hireable minion in they're 6 points for 6 health. They're incorporeal. They have Opportunist and Misery. The thing that they do differently is they have Antipathy. Antipathy is very, very neat aura ability. So after an enemy ends a move with an aura 4 of them, after they resolve the action, they have to pass a TN13 willpower duel, or they are pushed 3 inches away from this model, which is 1 TN13 is pretty high for a willpower duel that you just have to take to do stuff. And they're a really, really great denial piece. They also have Scatter as a tactical action, which is super, super strong in a positioning situation. They have Terrorize, which is okay. And then they have an okay attack. And their bonus action is push a friendly model 4 inches away. So they've got a whole bunch of movement stuff. They cost 6 points. They're a ghost. What do you think, Dixon?
No, they're great. But before one of the comic models that we're going to mention, this used to be my auto-include for delivering Pandora. But, power creep is a thing. And
power creep is a thing.
Yeah, now he only gets summoned. And I summon him in Pandora 2 often because sometimes I want a Sorrow because I want the extra damage. But, most of the time I'll get an Aversion just to ruin people's days. It's like they have to kill a 6-point model now that has incorporeal, and if you move well within 4 inches of it, you're gonna get potentially pushed away.
Yeah, and I think, if you're really actively engaging in making them waste their hand a lot, which is very doable in Pandora, right?
Yep.
The better the aversion gets, but also if you're not sort of already in that play style, the worse they are, because they just basically don't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still insignificant, but like I'm torn. I've hired them a handful of times. I've definitely seen them be very good, but I've also seen them do absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah, no. But as soon as we get to the Kurgan, because I keep alluding to it, but I might as well just name him out here because of the Kurgan. Yeah. I no longer hire these guys.
Yeah. So do you think in Pandora 1 I drop him out of some matchups and put him in almost never hire?
No, he's a never hire in Pandora 1 in my opinion.
Really
interesting. I still think he's probably pretty good for stuff like ballots.
So what we got, Landon? What's the take then?
I think Antipathy is really good for any strategy where you have to be next to something to score points.
Yeah.
Like maybe you'll call that a hot take, but I think for something like ballots where they have to walk up next to something and then interact,
or cloak and dagger,
it's kind of just like a chatty or a boring conversation that they just have to do before they do the thing they wanted to do.
Yeah, but I think I love Zoraida so much more in Stuff the Ballots that I just haven't even, because you're right, in Stuff the Ballots, this is a good model.
All right, hold on.
And that's why I'm going to say this is a matchup model.
Dixon, are you committing election fraud with Zoraida mind controlling people to stuff up ballots?
I can't believe this. Patootie.
I can't believe this.
And Sorcel is a thing.
Sure. But we're going to pretend for a moment that, they either didn't have Zoraida in their bag or they just don't own Zoraida or don't want to play Zoraida because she's a gross old granny.
That's fair.
And then we're going to say Aversion's really good in that matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm gonna leave them in some matchups. I'll maybe move them to the bottom of some matchups as we add some matchups in. But I think for Cloak and Dagger and Stuff the Ballots in GT4 world, I think the aversions are very strong.
Yeah, because the thing is that it's not, you don't hire this model in Pandora 2.
Oh no, you never hire it in Pandora 2. You summon it because everything you want it to do in both of those schemes isn't actually interacting with the strat. So it's just there for denial. So summoning it's great in Pandora 2.
Yeah, sure. I would put him above the Sorrow in the never hire part, because that's just basically to the note. It's like, it's not that this model is never good in the fight. It's that you're gonna see him in most games because of how stupid destructive is.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Haku, what you think? Aversions? Are you averting? Are you averting?
Yeah, I think where it is fine. I mean, all the points listed. It's whatever.
Wild.
I just want to point out the reason why the Kurgan displaced this model is this model used to be your go-to for your unpack interact with Frightening Reminder to get a free movement.
Yep.
Revolting Swipe, you can heave your own guys to get free movement. And there's just a lot of ways to get your guys up the crew with these guys. So if you either don't have the Kurgan or you want to hire one of these guys, just play with them, or you think it's good for the strategy anyways, they do offer a lot of utility for your turn 1 plays. Yeah. And it might be a minion, but the distinction between a 6 health breakpoint and a 7 health breakpoint is actually pretty significant for crit strikers.
Yeah.
Because it's from I need the card or the stone to I need the card and the stone.
Yep.
Yeah.
For most of them.
The vast majority of beaters in the game have a top end of either 5 or 6. And because of incorporeal, this guy usually survives a first hit.
Which I think is a pretty decent sweet spot for a model that is really difficult to charge anyways with Antipathy, because you got to make the willpower duel to not go away before you declare the charge or the attack from the charge.
Yeah.
And if they're very tenuously in their position, I think one minor change and they'd be way less good. They really just sort of are very, very well in the sweet spot, like Landon said.
The one thing I will say that you do have to be careful about these guys with is they're incorporeal, and Antipathy is not always, a duel that ends in your favor. Your opponent can just kind of slingshot with these guys sometimes if you take them in certain scenarios, and that makes them a little bit worse.
Yep, because it's not up to. So it's going to be 3 inches, and if they use you to slingshot, then goodbye. That's it. It's charge.
Yeah. I mean, the only time that you have really no control over it whatsoever is if they move directly through you and base you on the other side, and that's only if they're a 30 mil though, right? Otherwise, you're still getting an angle on it.
Yeah.
It's not
more obnoxious
exactly straight away, but before it was point straight line.
Yeah.
That's that much less good, but it is worth noting if they're like a 30 mil and they walk directly behind you, then you're shooting them 3 inches further forward. So that can be absolutely awful. That is a good call out. But let's jump over to the last in keyword model, the Lyssa. They cost 4 stones. You shouldn't pay those 4 stones. We did it.
Yeah, unless you're playing the Mysterious Emissary and you put enough threat into the area that like they completely ignore her, because like that happens every now and then. Like if you present a lot of threat, people completely forget about her until she's in the middle just pinging you for 1 damage, and then she dies in 1 hit.
Yeah. So she's got Misery and Opportunist. Her Opportunist for a minion is weird because it's not just stunned, it's staggered. Which is cool. So she can do stunned or staggered, but you don't really stagger people a lot in this crew outside of this model. They're incorporeal because it's a ghost, but it's 4 stones for 4 health. It's got a bad melee attack. It has Bring It, which is a great way to get them killed, and then they have Startle instead of Glimpse of Insanity, so they stagger and not stun.
Fun fact,
also they can make ice pillars.
Fun fact: she used to use Bring It on Pandora back in before times, before we had the Kurgan and stuff.
Yeah,
because
Pandora doesn't have a melee action, so it's just very funny.
It's just straight free. I was like, get over here.
I mean, Pandora 2, Pandora 2 still doesn't have a melee action. Both of them can't do it. So.
Yeah. But like the thing is, like because of Kurgan, Kurgan displaces a model 18 inches. Like, it's cute that you can bring a model. You can do Bring It on Pandora, but like you can just teleport Pandora basically across the table.
Yeah, and like I don't know, maybe if you have this model. Because you're doing the hazardous nonsense, like it's another source of movement, but like no. Yep. Landon.
All right, this isn't a bridge. This is more like the impulse item at checkout when you're going through.
Okay.
And these are the Myconites on the wall here. They're 4 stones, and like let's pretend in my perfect ideal scenario you're playing against Castor 1, and you know this for some reason, and your opponent's like, I'm gonna play Castor 1 today. These guys from 12 inches can end staggered, right, and end stunned. So while bringing your model back to safety with Bring It.
Yep.
So you're saying against Castor 2, you're like, I'm going to hire a Lyssa and then Bring It and staggered, Bring It and stunned. That's all my 4-stone model did that turn. We did it.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't even care if you pass the duels to end the conditions, right? Like,
no, you just flip plus because you remove a condition. And if you pass, you pass. If not, well,
if
whatever.
you're bringing a model and you want to end stun that your opponent's putting out, Lyssa is a pretty premium model for that with the 12-inch Bring It.
Yeah,
although you will occasionally have to either cheat a card to make it fail or move their movement backwards.
I mean, you have a plus flip on it, so you usually are going to get to choose less than an 8. But you're right. Sometimes you'll flip 2 and not want to come back.
I mean, honestly, the fact that this model dies to a stiff breeze is literally the only reason why I would say don't always hire it. But everything that you're saying is a thing that I've done to keep myself alive. So,
and then I'm just going to take issue with Brandon saying the melee is bad. It's a 1/2/4 stat 4, but if this thing hits, you get a free obey.
I mean, okay. If Landon.
I'm not telling you that that's why you brought the model, but I'm just saying the melee attack is good.
It's not an obey, and that's why it's not amazing.
It's a melee or gun action.
Yeah, which is much worse than an obey.
Sure.
But yeah, sometimes that's OP as hell.
And you also get to ignore this model for the thing, so they're allowed to actually shoot people.
And you can target a master, so if you successfully hit Seamus or
someone else,
get that Seamus. Seamus is only defense 4. You can hit that.
Okay, all right.
Funny when I've seen that happen once, and it was hilarious.
The trolling levels have reached Everest level. Holy crap.
Here's what I've got. I'm going to put them at... I'll tell you what. I'm going to put them at the bottom of Never Hire because that's where they belong. But I'm going to take this one screenshot real quick where I put them in Auto Hire, and this is just for against Seamus.
No.
And Cooper.
No.
I don't even know if I believe that. But...
And then I'm going to put them back where they belong.
I would put them below Carver. Just one step below Carver. That's it.
Because I was hiring one of these before.
Really
Kade.
Don't hate it for the remove stagger.
Dude, like they are actually very. Like I said, I didn't joke when I said that if you're getting the Mysterious Emissary, this model is really good. It just also has other, they're doing stagger and stun on me for some reason. I can remove it with this model.
Yeah, but I'll give you that corner point. But like, if I'm doing the Mysterious Emissary, put the markers down play, I'm like, they're like the 5th model I'm hiring, and I'm already out 20 stones. So like, I doubt it. But
as I said, they're the Mike and Ikes. They're
Yeah.
overpriced, but they're still cheap. They're at checkout.
You know what?
How
We
they
have to
Throw them
overpriced?
in your cart.
Wait,
What we
why are
have
they
to do
overpriced in your eyes? Like they're 4 points for
Oh
crying
no
out
no no
loud.
no! I'm just saying like it's 4 points you don't have, right? Like you
Oh.
you can afford the Mike and Ikes at checkout. They're $2, right? Like $2 isn't expensive in like the terms of the grand scheme of things, right?
Okay.
But do you need the Mike and Ikes for $2? I don't know.
Okay,
Probably
I see
not.
what
You
you
went
mean.
from selling us a bridge, selling us an unused car, to not selling us Mike and Ikes.
Man, yeah, we got to revamp your career, bud. That's not great.
Oh, that's funny.
Doug
Everything's
Doug is
downhill after I
rolling
got
over
knocked
in
out of
his
top
wherever he
32.
is.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so I guess now is a really good point to transition into the out of keyword models. So we always talk about Angel Eyes. I mean, out of keyword models and versatile picks. So this is basically everything everybody wanted to talk about. And I think in this part we'll go over a lot more about the things that we basically have been alluding to the whole time so far. Also, if you haven't checked out our Patreon, please check it out. Thank you so much to all the Patreon people. We just launched it and it's been a huge deal. So I'll put that at the end though. I guess that's probably a good place to do this. So
It sounded like a front of episode thing to me, but back sounds fine too.
I'm gonna put them everywhere. I'm gonna put them all throughout. I'm gonna do a constant scroll of all of our patrons throughout the whole thing. Maybe I probably won't do that. I feel like that'll be annoying. But
Okay.
let's talk about Angel Eyes. This model's garbage tier, right? You probably never hire her.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me a year ago.
Yeah.
Wild. All right. Well,
she wasn't never hire about a year ago. She was okay. Do they have a lot of armor? Okay, bring Angel Eyes. That was literally the only time.
Yeah.
And even then, it was more like, oh, this ain't a smash. That's why you bring it.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about Angel Eyes. It is insane the things that you can do with her. She is the best ranged attack beater in the game. She does an insane amount of damage. There's no reason to ever not hire Angel Eyes, basically, unless you and your opponent have agreed to a ceasefire before you play, because you're both playing Neverborn.
Dang, you guys feel that strongly about her? I still have her sometimes higher.
I'd have her below Kade.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like, fine, I'll put her below
she
Kade,
is not even there in my eyes, or the aversion in the whole some matchups thing for Pandora 1. Like, I am against both of these things.
Noted. Yeah, noted. All right, Jason. What are your reservations? I guess sometimes. If you've ever watched any of our videos with Angel Eyes, you've seen all of our.
Yeah. No, I get the feeling, and I agree in the sentiment, but not like in reality. In reality, she's still in the same thing. It's like, okay, do I need a gun, and do I need armor piercing, and that's about it. Like, she's fantastic now, and she was fine before. So whenever you need a gun, boom, Angel Eyes.
Yeah, for sure. Landon, thoughts? I assume similar.
Dixon's kind of like glancing over Crit Strike and just like, the fact that you get all this like great pressure into a backline when he's just going over like, do you need a gun? Do you need armor? But like,
no. I was the one that says like, dude, she does 7 damage. Like, I know. Yeah. Like, but the thing is that sometimes you need mobility.
I don't necessarily disagree with that point in time.
Yeah.
Like I think she's definitely quite good for many of the reasons we've talked about. Accomplice is still a very powerful thing, especially in my opinion for like just scoring in this GG in particular. Like a lot of weird accomplice plays you can make.
Haku, any other Angel Eyes related content you wish to share?
Yeah, no, I think we're actually decently underselling Angel Eyes in this one, admittedly. I don't really see a world where there's not guns. Like, you can talk about how some of the schemes and strats...
Okay, hold on. Is that critique of Angel Eyes, or is that like a scathing rebuke of our failed democracy? Because, like...
You mean our successful democracy?
Successful.
I do not.
As a proud veteran, I gotta say... let's go get some guns.
You know what, Dixon? Actually, I don't know for sure, but I think you might be the only other vet we've ever had on the channel. So let's get him. Okay. What branch are you in, by the way?
Guns.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
No, I was in the Navy, and
yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah. I did the Marine Corps thing for a while, so
yeah,
it's
exactly.
a time. Yeah. This is officially the Pandora / veteran sponsored episode. Our sponsors today are the VFW.
Okay, they're not mean to make it into that. I am so sorry.
No, it's very funny. It's a good time, but thanks for your service. We did it.
Thank you for your service.
No, I didn't do shit. It's fine. Okay, all right. So, Angel Eyes. Sorry, Haku. What were we saying? Angel Eyes, guns.
Yeah, no. So the big thing is we have strat markers, and so there's a lot of like things that pull your models to certain points on the maps. You can intentionally play around. So the map has to be like decently wonky to not want like a long range gun, especially in a crew that has movement effects to move Angel Eyes to like good spots to pressure the lanes. And
don't pressure me.
One of the things we were talking about for Pandora 2 was not having the ability to like go immediately on someone who had stunned, right? But you're going to have so many rounds now where beginning of round 2, beginning of round 3, you're going to have the easy go with Angel Eyes, shoot, go with Pandora, shoot.
Yep.
Summon. Like it's just such an oppressive turn that sure, maybe it's better in, Zoraida where you can obey it again and take an obscene amount of shots with a whole new hand of cards. But it's still really strong in these areas to deny activation control, which is going to be huge, and to deny pretty much any of like lower HP scheme models that a lot of people I think will be hiring.
We can easily confirm that both Zoraida and Pandora can buff Angel Eyes to a ridiculous level because you can give her fast, you can give her double focus, you can put her in a position that actually makes it better for her to shoot. But I think that the game now requires you to move so much forward that like having one static piece, I mean, you gotta feed it a lot of cards, and I don't see a lot of card draw in Pandora.
Yeah, that's legitimately the only argument against it. Is Pandora 2 is a little card intensive.
Yeah, she is definitely.
But I feel like you're perfectly fine putting all of your big cards in the Angel Eyes because a lot of the rest of your cards are either just hitting TNs or just hitting an attack with your, master that's potentially having plus flips and cheating off top deck, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, fair enough. Noted on the Angel Eyes.
And I truly do think when you I also just want to say one more thing. When you're talking about people having to approach, I mean that's the two-way street I'm kind of getting into with it. Like it's not as amazing turn 1, but when you start getting to turn 2 and 3 with those low HP models that have to move forward, she's pretty clutch in popping those from across the map.
Oh yeah.
And you with a crew that wants to bubble up, kind of. You need to have the model that can project your area of attacks.
I actually just realized one more thing. I play only Vassal, so therefore I don't ever see tables that you can see across, from one side to the other very easily, right? But in real life, I'm assuming that you guys
it's like that, but
yeah, I'm assuming that in real life
we're cutting
you
down
guys
on
see
them,
that.
but they're not as many. In real life, though, you'll see a ton of maps where there's no line of sight blocks.
So that makes perfect sense. Why is it that you guys put? Because it's true. In real life, I remember being able to see like clear lanes of shooting. So yeah, I guess in that case, if you're playing in real life, this woman is just gonna destroy things.
Wild. All right. Well, so we definitely have talked enough about Angel Eyes. Let's talk about the other versatile henchman that everybody likes in Neverborn. This lady, you may have seen her before, Hinamatsu. And like I said before, Dixon, when we do the puppet thing, which we'll throw up on the Patreon for our vote for keywords soon. Please come back because oh boy, do I want to get into that. But for now, Hinamatsu, she's got armor 2, she's got flurry, she's got rush, she's got wicked.
Yep.
She's got leverage, so she gets plus flips occasionally or generates pass tokens after her opponents reveal a scheme, which is just an insane ability. But also she's a 2/3/4 with a built-in plus flip, armor piercing or onslaught, your choice. She has lore, which is also synergistic of the nonsense we'll talk about in a bit. She has a bonus action that's sometimes relevant. She's a really good flurry beater. That's what I got. Dixon?
I mean, literally, you said everything that's great about her. Like speed 6, flurry, plus flip. The plus flip on the sword alone. Oh my god, this model. Yeah. In fact, I mean, Landon, you play with this model, I assume, on Queen Gon.
Yoko, yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, this model's nuts. And I mean, I'm 100% sure that the reason why Angel Eyes is now 8 points is because this model exists. Is that wrong? Do you guys not think so?
So if it's my turn, I think this is a some matchups model, precisely because I've played this model a lot in Yoko to know that this model has its ups and this model has its downs. And I don't think that like Pandora 2 gives any exceptional synergy to Hinamatsu. Like fast is fast, I guess, but fast is fast on a lot of models.
Sure.
And like when you want to take a lot of attacks, and a lot of attacks is good, like she's good at it. I don't know. But like, for example, Blackblood's my favorite example of when Hinamatsu is absolutely terrible. And there's like other matchups where she'll have like really, really bad times. Like I hate playing her into armored things, even though she has armor piercing, right? It's more of a band-aid than it is a help.
Yeah. The armor piercing on her, I feel, is always kind of a trap. You can do it and it'll get through, but you lose out on such a heavy volume of attacks by doing that it's not quite as worth it. But like, I mean, I think she's still an exceptional beater, and I think if you need stopping power against most crews, I think you're putting her in, right?
I think her role is very replaceable, I guess, is my ultimate thought, and that's not to say that she's the worst at it or that she's the best at it. She's just an option you have on the table.
Yeah, and I think that in Pandora in particular, there are other things that you probably want to be doing a lot of the time. But I don't know, Dixon, how do you feel about Toppa sometimes for both? Do you think that's
no, in some matchups, just like because I agree with everything that Landon said. It's just I cannot also minimize that when she is good, holy crap, is this model good?
Oh no doubt. I mean, there are times where she puts like 2 models down a round, right?
Yeah.
And it's just insane. But
I don't know if I've played those games, but all right.
Come on now.
I have.
We also seen you play those games, liar.
Yeah, Landon. Come on. Every single model you control kills 2 models around.
No. That's specifically on with Hinamatsu or with like Bill.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the models I hit with Hinamatsu, but she doesn't usually score kills. She usually just racks up damage.
Yeah, I will say Bill is probably the 3rd best Neverborn henchman. So.
Oh yeah.
But we can talk about him in the puppet episode. Haku, what you got? You got any Hina wisdom, Matsu?
I don't know. I just see myself slotting Angel Eyes in a lot where Hinamatsu would have been. Mostly just due to the fact that you got the similar like concept of what they're doing, which is flipping a lot of cards, hitting models. The benefit from Hinamatsu obviously is the onslaught ability, but you lose having to move up the board for that. I mean, there are replacements for that, but it's kind of like half a dozen of one.
I mean, the benefit to me is actually what you just called the drawback, which is that she does her stuff in an area where points are scored. So, like, she's contributing engagement and she's contributing the ability to just drop and interact afterwards.
Yeah, but I feel like you're doing that. I don't know. It's like the crews you're hiring. You're doing that with a lot of the other models. And so, how are you killing models further away? Are you sending her out by herself over there? Maybe, because then she can interact after killing them. So it really just like kind of comes down to what's needed at the moment.
Actually,
and you could definitely hire both.
Well, that
is one of the benefits of Hina. She doesn't rely as much on cards with the built-in plus.
You just described the thing that I do with her, which is I just let her go on her own to chase down like a scheme runner and then start scoring herself.
Yep.
That's literally all I do with her, and she's 9 points, sometimes 11 because I put Ancient Pack on her. She's incredibly efficient
She will flip
at that.
half the deck.
Yeah. I mean, if you flip half the deck with a model, you're probably going to get.
Oh my god! I don't know if you guys ever
Black Jokers every now and then. I've never had it happen. Not one time ever have I ever flipped the Black Joker on an Ancient Pack model.
So on Hinamatsu, this actually happened. Angel from Canada, Captain Chin.
Oh, we know Captain Chin. He's been on an episode recently.
He and we played a game, and he wanted to test out how much can Ulix 2 survive. and he let Hinamatsu with fast and double focus charge him, and she flipped the entire deck. I think it was I flipped the red Joker, the black Joker twice. If I remember correctly, that's exactly what happened, and I finished up killing him in one activation from full to death.
Jesus.
Exactly. Like it was. This model is insane when buffed.
Yeah, and delivered to the right target, right? So you got to be in a position where it's not something that is like black blooding to kill her as well, or a number of other things.
Yeah, ping damage will destroy this model.
Yeah. Armor 2 is great if you're not taking pings all left and right. But yeah, Hinamatsu, I agree, very good. Let's talk about, I think, the last henchman that we have to talk about today. I'll let Dixon go over this, I think, more than anything else, because it was his pick.
Yeah,
I love this model. I think Thoon's really great. It's a gorgeous model.
Yep.
But all right, what's the Thoon? What's the Thoon?
If you
I feel
can,
like the Scoom.
It's super. Everybody knows what Thoon does. If you played against him once, it's the bury thing. And honestly, sometimes I just pick him because I am on a diagonal and I want to leave somebody behind. And if you either leave him in yours, or your opponent can't apply pressure to actually send somebody to you, you can then slingshot him with Kurgan. I use him only in Pandora 1. He is insane in the matchups where I feel like I need to bring him, because when he buries somebody and there's nobody to rescue them, you just basically win like so many VPs just on that alone. Yeah, it's the trigger. Literally, it's 100% the trigger on his front of the card, and he just happens to also have like intuition and all this stuff.
Yeah, you mean the trigger on his melee attack?
On his fist. I apologize.
Yeah. So if you don't know what that is, it's really simple. If he has a tome on his attack, he creates an ice pillar, buries the model, and the model stays buried until that ice pillar is destroyed. So if you don't have a way to destroy it, which requires a slam action or like blown to hell or something, you lose the model. There's nothing you can do about it in most crews.
Yep.
Obviously, there are crews where they don't care at all and they'll just pop them up somewhere else. But in most cases, it's totally a thing.
Yeah. I think like the most disgusting thing that I did, where I won, I played in the Malifaux World Series a few years ago, and one of the tournament games I did it, and I did it to a valedictorian. Like my opponent had like no knowledge of it, because this is like 2 years ago and nobody really played Euripides, right? And he punched the valedictorian, put her in the block of the ice, and he's like, "So what's the check for me to get out?" I was like, "Oh, there's no check. You're in there until somebody gets you out."
Can I just say, as somebody who spent the better part of the last year playing a crap ton of Unstuck, oof. Oh man. Landon, what do you think, Thoon?
This feels like a thermonuclear take to me, but I don't know. I feel like most players across the table these days understand Frozen Trophy well enough to play around it, but maybe there's a game where it's like they don't really have a choice. I don't know. It feels really cheesy, and I'm not sure that it's going to work most times that you try it.
So, yeah, but when it does.
Yeah, no.
For
nowadays,
10 stone investment.
Dude, nowadays, actually, I have done it against players that are good, and he's still, like, I've not that I won every game that I brought him in, obviously, because, you have to do other stuff. But when I bring him in, it's like a huge denial piece, because like my opponent has like displaced Thoon. It's like a cat and mouse game. It's like, well, I can't go to that one because Thoon is there, so I have to go around and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, he is a piece, that's for sure. He does denial. I guess Haku, what do you got? Anything before we?
I don't know. I'll have to see. I honestly, I think I'd have to try it. Like,
I guess my question here is, why does it work in Pandora 1 and not Pandora 2? What's the difference there? Is it just mood swings?
No, because Pandora 1, you can actually take basically a 10-point tax on the list, and you can still be efficient. Like, you don't need
that's the
every
same thing
model.
as Pandora 2, I feel like.
No.
Like, Pandora 2 doesn't need any particular list to operate.
Nah, like, I feel that Pandora 2, she needs certain things to go in a different way. Like, it's hard to explain without actually, like, this is the reason why I think we need to play a game. Longton, whenever we played, you did not get out of your deployment zone, right? You were like, what, 3 or 4 inches in front of your deployment zone the entire game?
I mean,
I'm guessing that was a function of just playing McMorning, because that's what McMorning does.
yeah. I mean, like Thoon wouldn't be a problem against McMorning would have no problem with Thoon. I think a lot of crews that have like good, most crews now have good destruction abilities too.
I don't know.
I feel like, I don't know. I see like the edge cases where it's really nice. Some of the ballot stuff you really have to go. I don't know. I said ballots. But some of the strat
That's a good one, though.
I mean, ballots is a good example
Yeah.
of where I can see Dixon's point, but like, I still don't know if I love it.
Yeah, I just don't know.
It is so
the
game
high
winning.
is high. Like the payoff can be huge.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the investment's not like atrocious because the model still can do other things.
Yep.
That being said, I don't know. I feel like the biggest problem is getting all the high cards you're going to need to pull this off.
He's a henchman.
And then not using them elsewhere.
Okay.
Well, he is a henchman, but you do sort of need a 13 to put something.
You need to hit with your stat
right?
6, and if they kept their 13 for it,
that's fair.
Like, there aren't a lot of like must dodge attacks coming from Pandora.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you can really keep it for Thoon.
There is a lot of card velocity going on against Pandora, though. There's a bunch of stuff that you just have to like decide if you're going to go into it or not, right? And choosing not to, you're almost at the point where you're hitting a critical mass of you're going to have to spend so many cards in so many places that if you do keep this, then like maybe the rest of our stuff is more effective, right?
I don't know. There's so many good card draw crews right now, but yeah, I get your point.
I mean, sure, yeah. Maybe obviously, if card pressure is the thing that a model provides value of, and you're going up against a card draw crew, that's probably less good. But I think.
May I recommend another 10-stone model that has card pressure built in, so you don't have to cheat or stone for the cards?
No.
Okay, that's fair. I already tried it.
Okay, we did
it. We did it.
Okay. No, you can. But all right, let's. Before we do that, though, let's talk the best out of keyword hire, I think, in Neverborn. Right.
Auto include.
The Kurgan.
Auto
include. All right, wild.
Include.
So the Kurgan has a bunch of stuff that's really important.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why, as a Neverborn model, you see him out of keyword so much is because he can move models real good. He do good move, right?
He displaces friendly models easily 18 inches.
Yeah.
A friendly model, and he can do multiple models at the same time. Like, this guy is insane.
Yeah. So when he activates, he has an ability on the front of his card called Shifting Earth, where you choose another model within Aura 3, put it anywhere within Aura 3, and he's on a 50 mil, right? So that you're already talking is you're taking a model that is 5 inches behind him and putting a model 5 inches in front of him, which is an insane displacement of distance.
3 inches in front of him and putting it 3 inches in?
From the edge of his base.
Oh, sure. You're assuming it's a 50 mil. I guess
because I'm adding the size of 50 mil, which is wrong to add twice. Quite frankly, I should only add it once. But you get my point. Because the distance on the aura is so big, and it just has a place within, not wholly within. So it's crazy. He also has Avalanche, which is an insane movement ability, which is an attack. You can do it against enemy models, but I don't know why you would, because like you basically just do it to your own to push them 5 inches in any direction, ignoring models and terrain, which is completely nuts. Less effective, I think, with the ghosts because they already do that, but the 5-inch push is crazy.
Yep.
And he's got an aura that's pretty good too, right? So he, as a bonus action, he puts up a severe and concealing terrain aura that is just very, very strong.
Just so you know, because I said why would you do it to enemies, is because you can push them through walls and buildings.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if they're not a hypermobile thing once they come in, putting them in a building or on the other side of a building could fuck them up really bad, right?
Yeah.
I'll have to quack that. What else you got? Anything else you want to talk about the Kurgan in particular, Dixon?
No, that's it. Like, literally so just taking into account, say that you have the Kurgan like 3 inches in front of a model, right? When he activates, that displacement is already 8 inches. Not taking into account your base, just taking the Kurgan, the 3 inches behind him, the base of the Kurgan, and then 3 inches in front of him.
Yeah, plus the base size of your model, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying not even taken into account. That is already 8 inches.
Yeah, the front of your base moves 8 inches forwards. Right?
Correct. So for no actions whatsoever, you do an 8-inch displacement, and then you add in heave if you want to. Twice you can do avalanche, because avalanche is up to, so you can do avalanche to the edge of 6 inches and then do it again for 5 extra inches. Like, it's super dumb. I often joke, and I say that the line, when you absolutely positively have to deliver a beater into the enemy crew, accept no substitute. Because this model is insane at doing that. He just puts whatever you want wherever you want it.
We'll have to put that on the list of parody commercials to make at some point. But yeah, I mean, dude's good. What else to say? Landon, you got anything else to say?
Definitely auto-include for Pandora 1.
Oh, I probably should put him on the tier list, right?
I put him on both, yeah. I play the Kurgan and Candy in every list.
I'm trying to fight the urge to, like, say you're right, and I really don't know if I can. This is one of those tools that I just don't have in my faction that I wish I did.
I'll
it's a really good
for
tool.
you if you want.
Oh, please. Yeah, what you got, Haku? Why are we taking? Why is this model bad?
Sometimes in 2. Because I feel like there's lists you can build now, especially My Girl Angel Eyes really helps you actually build a ranged crew with some of the strats that really require your enemies to come to like close to the middle of the map, come to the edges. You don't need like a hyper delivery. You don't need unpack necessarily even bigger than like Crow, just helping move your guys a couple inches into good spots. And going forward with other models that he's just not having the viability come from there, and you can edge him out with a couple other points elsewhere.
Okay, but what if the Kurgan just put Angel Eyes in the spot to shoot twice turn 1?
You just have other models that can potentially do that and don't necessarily involve going in. You're just trying to move it.
I mean, the Kurgan does all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, for example, in that situation, potentially Hooded would just be slightly better.
How?
Do the ride with me to get into the spot, and then not go forward to be the engagement point for the enemy to, start picking off your models, and you force them to come to you.
Well,
there are just schemes and strat pools right now where going forward isn't necessarily as advantageous as it used to be. Like, you don't have to balls to the wall all in anymore.
I gotta point out, to your point, notwithstanding, you said the rider because he can do right with me, but right with me has to be in base to base. This thing can put a model
2 inches
on it.
Oh, it places it base after.
Yeah, and this thing doesn't. This thing literally places it on top of a 3-inch tall thing if he wants to. Like, it's
just
dumb.
What are you doing? I'm just factoring in after turn 1. Like,
ooh.
He can still do it again.
It did not occur to me that you can ferry Angel Eyes onto a building. That's pretty strong. That's
super
dumb. That's kind of mean, actually. Maybe you shouldn't do that. That seems rude.
I've done that exact thing before. But no, it's really good. It's really strong. It holds open a lot of options. I just think there are definitely maps where you want that range option and you don't need the extra movement, and it's just going to be one of those edge cases.
So the Kurgan
I don't feel like I've ever had too much movement for a game that I've played.
Thank you. That's literally what I was gonna.
Yeah,
I definitely have. I've had the option where it's just like, do I want Avalanche a second time? It's like, nah, not really.
Look, man, if you're not playing Malifaux where you want every one of your surviving models on the back edge of the board at the end of the game, what are you even doing?
There are so many crews right now whose threat ranges feel like absolute, where if you're not willing to commit the complete all-in, you have to play decently safe against their threat ranges.
Well, here's the thing.
Moving
Here's
your
the thing,
crews
though,
too
right?
far forward is spooky.
The Kurgan can also rescue people from combat.
I'm more of a once you're all in kind of guy, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Like, the Kurgan's start of activation is just I've got your back sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like, I think I'm going to leave him in auto include, but it is worth noting. It can be too much for sure. But let's talk about this guy you mentioned, Longton. We got the Haku guy, the rider. You're a rider. What am I saying right now? I don't even know where I am. All right. Well, look, sometimes you get good transitions out of just randomly babbling nonsense that was recently said, and sometimes you don't get those. And right now is one of those times where that's not the point. So I'll cut all this out. Hooded Rider. What a guy. Man, for the factions that have the riders, you hire them sometimes unless you're the bad one. For the 5 factions that have riders, you hire them sometimes, except for Yasunori. Wild. So the Hooded Rider we talk about a lot. He's sort of, I think, probably one of the more well-known versatiles in Neverborn. He's just like sort of this cool dude. You get him by yourself, or you get him in the neat little box of puppets where you get them all. But he's got Ride with Me, which is really important. He moves 7. He's got this this token system where he gets a token every round, and he can spend them to add masks, which let him prevent damage, and also let him do his triggers. He has a great sword, which is a 3/4/5. So if you Ride with Me forward, which gets you close enough, you can just punch people with plus flips built in, which is great. And we've talked, I think, a lot about him already, although not necessarily calling him out, with the sort of some of the hazardous nonsense you can do in Pandora 2. You can do it a little bit in Pandora 1, but it's just so much more effective with no shelter here. So his bonus action that isn't Ride with Me is called Revel in Secrets, which theoretically lets you look at a number of random cards in the opposing player's control hand equal to the number of friendly models within range, but I've never once resolved that part of the effect, ever, because I just always forget that it does that. Because, like, I don't care. It does 3 things depending on the number of masks that you have in the duel, which you can, of course, get up there with these tokens. So you can push friendly models within range up to 3 inches in any direction, which is very strong. His 5 mask ability is also very strong, which is 1 at a time, take a melee action targeting every model within pulse 6, and then place within 2 of the last model targeted, which I have. You can ask Doug. I think I killed like 6 models with it one time. In a single activation, which is killing 6 models is pretty good for a bonus action.
Yep.
It can do stuff, and if you haven't charged that turn, your melee attack is a greatsword, which gets plus flips, which is to its damage, which is just really, really, really insane on a 3/4/5. But the one I think that probably is more relevant specifically to Pandora in this keyword, although both of those are totally viable, is Malifaux's Revolt, which is until the end phase, enemy models treat the area within 6 of this 50 mil model as hazardous terrain. Combined with the next guy who we're going to talk about, the Mysterious Emissary, and Pandora's No Shelter Here ability, and all of the movement shenanigans that you have in the crew from the lures and the bring its and the other random ability avalanche, and also from the fact that anytime any model within 6 inches of one of your models gets stunned, you get to move it 2 inches. It's really, really easy to set up a massive field of crazy hazardous damage where even your opponent's, I don't know, let's say Peacekeeper, who famously does not have very, very high defense or willpower? Defense?
No, defense. But he has like movement 4.
He has willpower, so, yeah.
Great willpower either, but yeah.
Yeah. Any of your opponent's models that are super hard to kill, it's very easy to nickel and dime them down when you're moving things into 3 hazardous auras with a bonus action on your shitty 4-stone minion. Yep. Right, or 5-stone minion, and it's really gross. It's something that you can do very effectively starting on turn 3, and arguably you could do it earlier, but it's sort of hard. Oh no, you can't. Right, you can do it on turn. Can you do it on 2? Because 2, you can do it. You can do it starting on turn 2 if you really want to, because you'll have 3 tokens and then can cheat a card. But it's one of the things that the Pandora 2 crew does, and it probably is a negative gameplay experience occasionally.
100%.
There's not a lot that you can do about it if you put yourself in a position to get messed up by it. But throughout the video, I've said the hazardous nonsense a bunch of times, and that's like sort of one of the play styles that you can build into Pandora 2 in the event that you know that you're going up against a crew that's vulnerable to that, and that you can sort of have the models in the right place and they sort of play into it. It's definitely not, I think, the thing that you should try and do every time you play Pandora 2, but it is definitely something that you should be aware of that you can do by overlapping all of these auras, because they take a point of damage for each hazardous every time, and that's 1 separate ping of damage, so your opponent's armor 2 models just melt. It's very strong.
The thing that you were saying, like the Kurgan mixed in with the Mysterious Emissary, I've done that many times because of Heave, because he can like do the no shelter, put them in a certain area. They already have, a bunch of stuff that they don't want to deal with, but then you can just like Heave, grab the model, throw it down, do 2 damage from the Heave, from the attack itself, and then 1 damage from no shelter, and then 1 damage from one of the Hungry Lands. Like, it's super dumb. And if you stack, say, instead of Hungry Land, this thing, it's basically the same thing.
Yep. Yep, it does. Yeah, Kurgan's another model that does a great amount of movement with it.
Yeah,
there's a lot you can do. And this crew in particular is really sort of almost designed intentionally to take advantage of this movement nonsense, and that's how you really get good value out of it. It is oppressive to play against, and it is oppressive to do to people, but it's, sometimes
it's super fun though.
It is fun. It is fun to be like, all right,
so
I'm going to put these 9 eggs in this basket in this very specific order. Okay, it's your activation. And bam, all your models die.
Yeah, the only time that I use a rider nowadays is whenever I absolutely need Ruthless and I don't want to play Carver.
Yeah, he's also Ruthless, right? That's probably also something that we should mention. I don't know if I did, but...
It's all the riders are Ruthless, though. Like, everybody...
Yeah. Any other things? I mean, that was a pretty comprehensive. That's my thing. I love the hooded rider nonsense.
Yeah, no, that wombo combo is great whenever you pull it off with any model that has the double hazardous aura. Like, it's super fun. So I can't really, fault you for wanting to put it on the list.
Yeah, it is very fun. Landon, you got any hooded rider anecdotes to share? Any fun times you've hooded a rider or rided a hooded?
I mean, I think it's a bit more than fun. I might go so far as to say it's not very fun when the entire 6-inch aura of like the place you need to be to score points is hazardous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did.
And like 6 inches off a 50 mil model is not a very small area to avoid.
I would argue that it's a 14-inch circle, in fact.
Like, it's good and a legitimate thing to just do at the top of every turn.
Yeah.
It's like if they don't deal with the rider, they cannot win that game if they need to be in the area that he is in with that aura up.
Yep. Yeah. And if you put them, park him next to an aversion, let's say they try and deal with the rider and then they take more.
Well, I feel like just bringing up the combos with all of these models is just downplaying how strong it is to just have Pandora 2 and have the hooded rider standing in some proximity of each other.
He's not
right.
Wrong.
Like,
I don't like that combo because of all the incidental ping damage that the game has. Keeping riders alive has been significantly harder lately for me.
Yeah,
and
that's potentially fair. Like, it's harder to keep them alive than perhaps it once was. But you know what helps keep you alive? Having a hazardous bubble of 6 inches against a melee crew.
I don't know, man. Somebody here keeps talking about a gun that can just shoot you from across the table.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Sure.
Don't take
not
hooded
always
rider.
Food for me.
Don't take hooded rider against the Angel crew, right?
You're hard to wound. You're fine against Angel Eyes. You're mid-4ing against a guy who flips a mask.
Yeah, right.
Until they Black Joker.
You're not a 3.
When a rider Black Jokers and you didn't have Ancient Pact on that specific model. Sad face.
Wild. So
I think...
Yeah, Haku, what do you think? And also, where should we put him?
Cloak and Dagger makes hooded really nice. Having hazardous aura and being able to throw whenever they pick a marker and just be like, that marker is now inside and next to hooded. Have fun.
Yeah.
You can end up with quite a few markers depending on how you play. Situationally
if you just
sitting next to hooded.
Slowly concentrate all of the Cloak and Dagger markers inward until Hooded Rider is just like, all right.
Yeah, for bunch crews, I think that's going to be a very common thing to see, where you and your opponent fight to, just keep these markers stuck inside a nice little circle.
Yeah. And then you just
when your circle's 12 inches large.
Yeah, it's pretty rude. It's pretty rude, not gonna lie. It also does a really good job of that on Wraith Vaults, and also plant explosives, and then also all of the strats. But for
some of the other strats, you can kind of go after only a couple of the markers,
to an extent, depending on where you're positioned. It's a big bubble, and they're gonna have to answer this question at some point, especially in Pandora 2. So I put him. I think mid sometimes I think is pretty reasonable in Pandora 2. Like I said, I don't think you're always doing this, and I think Hinamatsu probably has a stronger education in some cases, but maybe not. Maybe I'll put him here. Is that crazy?
Yes.
All right. Fine. Pandora 1 though, I don't know. You sort of have
definitely some matchups.
Yeah,
I talked about the blasting before.
There's only 3 models that have Ruthless. I think it's 2 non-master models and 4 total if you actually take into account the masters. How many models have Ruthless?
And there's so much terrifying in the game right now.
All right, I'll put him in the same place. So we'll drop him there. I guess in that case, speaking of all of the hazardous bits that you can do, there's also this here emissary. You may have heard of him. He's quite mysterious. He's a large lad. Yep. And he's made out of trees, like you do. He's got armor 1. He's got planted roots, which, if you're familiar, is that thing that is with the wild geist, where you can't move him, which is potentially relevant in certain circumstances. He's hard to kill because he's an emissary. And then whenever he drops a blast, he can drop a 50 mil severe hazardous hungry landmarker. Love it. And if you flip over to his backside, obviously he has a blast attack on his range attack. It's 8 inches, stat 6 against movement, which is very strong. He does blast on moderate or severe damage. He's got his bonus action is the weird aura that he gets, which lets you cheat face down, which is stupid. Maybe it does things, but it's 3 inches and it's basically not relevant. But like, do it. But like, And then he has tangling roots as well, which is kind of cool. So he can attack models in severe terrain. And you know what's a great piece of severe terrain that gets to move around the board? It's the Kurgan. We did it.
Yay!
Okay. What do you think? What do you think, Dixon? Mysterious Emissary. He's a guy. He's also move 6. He's like a large lad. All his stats are 6. He can do things.
Yeah, no, he's in some matchups above Hinamatsu for me because of the synergy with Kurgan, the synergy with the the no shelter here. We talked about it before. Literally, just like randomly heaving a model with like an aversion that just came out of nowhere. In doing 2 points of damage, and there's nothing that the opponent can do other than not get hit. Because like even if you just do scatter, that's 2 points of damage for no reason at all. Like it's super great, and the Kurgan are automatically having heave and the mobility displacement and blah blah blah. Like he's already in the list. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, like delivering the Kurgan delivering the terrain. Or the emissary just shooting somebody, getting a blast and getting a hungry land. That alone just ruins people's days.
Yep. And like he sometimes has that weird edge case with the tangling roots where like Kurgan aura aside, right? They're coming to deal with the Kurgan. You can just charge anywhere into the Kurgan's aura and then still melee attack them.
Yeah.
But also, like, sometimes people will forget it and edge into base contact with the forest so they can see through it to attack people. And then you charge anywhere in the forest base and then you can just melee them too.
Yeah.
And your melee can drop blasts, which are also 50 millimeter severe hazardous markers.
And that trigger auto also staggers if it does damage. Like, it's insane. The amount of synergy just randomly because of the no shelter aura and because you're already bringing the Kurgan in. So yeah, this model, sometimes you just have to get him.
Yeah, and I think his value is arguably increased by also including the Kurgan because, we're Neverborn, so we got to have trees. Trees tree together. Give trees a chance. I don't know.
The Evil Dead tree as a model is pretty good.
Yeah. Landon, what do you think? This guy?
This guy here. Yeah, no, he's good. You'll find him in pretty much every Neverborn Master. I think the only time I haven't seen him is in Dreamer, and I bet there's probably Dreamer players who take him. I don't know. What is there to say about the Mysterious Emissary that hasn't been said already?
Yep.
Quicksand's really good.
Quicksand's really good.
Sure. Yeah. I think the big question is, and maybe this is probably for Landon and Haku. Actually, I don't know, Dixon. You played second edition a lot, yeah?
Yeah. Well, no.
Okay.
I played first edition. Sorry, I kind of skipped.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So then directly, Landon and Haku, do you think it's worth hunting down the old Avatar Pandora model to play the Mysterious Emissary in the Pandora crew, or no?
Avatars were first edition, so that question
were they?
is asked to the wrong
wild.
person.
I thought they were.
Yeah.
I thought they were.
They literally. If you actually look at the book where the avatars came out, my name is there.
Oh, wild! All right, well, fuck. All right, Dixon. I'm cutting all that. You didn't hear it. Dixon, what do you think? Do you think it's worth the Pandora getting the old Pandora avatar to use as your avatar of?
I met many a player that got into the game because of that avatar. So
because because of impossible to balance 19 separate pieces of metal that are all tentacles and have to be pinned 17 times or they're gonna fall off if you breathe it.
Or they created bases with green stuff. The most effective ones that I saw, they had like green stuff molded into shapes.
Wild. I would just, I don't know, bend all of the tentacles so that they're within the cylinder that it is created by the base, and then put the whole thing in clear resin after I painted it. It's gonna break if you do anything less than that. But wild, cool, we did it. Haku, you got any other mysterious emissary related things you want to say?
I never get the tomes. It's really depressing.
Yeah, it do be that way. It's because I take all the tomes out of all of your decks.
Just flip better.
You never get a 5 of tomes? Really?
I get a 5 of tomes, then they flip better than a 5 of tomes hits on their neck flip.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if they flipped an 8, that's 11. So yeah. 11 you still hit.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if I don't remember actively mentioning it, but his 6-stat move attack puts your opponent on a neg flip if they're in severe terrain, which they will be after you cheat in the first card to drop a marker that's severe in base contact with them.
Or deliver the Kurgan.
Or put the Kurgan aura up and put the Kurgan nearby that you charge 6 inches away. Just Jesus, dude. This guy, you know what? Roots from Below needs to just be an 8-inch melee. That just needs to happen. All right. Let's talk about the puppetiest lady ever to puppet ladies before. It's Vasilisa. She's a lady. What do you think? I have played Vasilisa, I think, a grand total of 1 time. I love the concept.
Firstly, heresy, but secondly,
I know. I love the concept. I own the model, right? But I just was never playing puppet stuff. And every time I brought up puppet stuff, all of the Malifaux people in my life were like, don't play puppets. They're bad. And you're a terrible person for thinking that because everyone was too traumatized from Kade.
Am I not in your life?
Well, you weren't really as much then, right? Had we been closer, Landon, and really, I think this is your fault. You might have been able to outshadow Doug and Sam and like all of the New England players who had like Adam play Papa thing on him once and just were like, Brandon, if you play puppets, we're not your friend anymore.
Look, Haku might not be your friend, but you have 2 other allies in this chat right now.
All right.
All my experience against puppets is Vix go burr. So I'm fine with them.
Wait. Say that again. What was that again, Longton? I'm sorry.
Vix go burr.
Vix go burr. We need to play.
I played a lot of M2E against Landon who did Colette, and I would just be
Collodi,
Vix.
You mean?
Collodi. And I would be Vix, and you can just kill Collodi really easily turn 1.
Oh, this man's got jokes.
All right. Well, we're not. Firstly, we're not going to have any talking about killing Collodi on this channel. Let Haku do that on your own. But also, this video is getting kind of long, so let's. Vasilisa. Okay. She's got armor. She's got some move along, which is really good. She can scoop people up, and then she staggers everybody who's next to a puppet at the start phase.
That's it. That's literally that, and maybe the scoop up. That's it.
Yeah. Also, she theoretically has a stat 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, but maybe that's not true. But all right, Dixon, what you got?
I mean, everything in this card is gold. So like, literally, she can create things out of scraps. She makes everything faster. The reason why I bring Vasilisa is if I want to have the emissary in the list, but I don't have the points to like finagle some other stuff, and I need some stagger. So you can just bring in Vasilisa if you're bringing also Hinamatsu. So it's kind of weird. Like, you have to kind of do the math. But if you're bringing Hinamatsu, you can bring Vasilisa, and you can bring the effigy with the upgrade to turn into the emissary later on. And you can scoop the effigy every turn to keep her safe. Somehow it works. I don't know how else to describe it. I played this bunch of times. And I did it with Longton in a game with the puppets.
Yeah,
I scooped my effigy.
The puppet crew.
Yeah, and I scooped the effigy all the way across the table and delivered it into a forest. And
you had a duet that survived with the Black Joker, or that game was just massively different. I mean, that was all right.
I'm talking about the effigy. I'm not talking about the duet. We already talked about the duet.
I didn't think I cared about what the effigy did at all.
Oh my God.
So you scoop. Okay, so you can scoop the effigy. That's for sure. That's a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, particularly, like, I don't know. Is this really going to be a thing? Do you do this in Pandora though?
Yeah.
Like, she heals constructs. There aren't any. I guess.
If I'm bringing Hinamatsu.
Yeah, this is very much a Kurgan emissary situation where if you're bringing Hinamatsu, Vasilisa's
On the
punching
table.
power is just
Yeah.
on the table too.
That's
right?
it. That's it.
All right, I'll put them next to each other. That's what we're gonna do. Landon, do you have anything to add?
I think it's actually less Hinamatsu and more Wicked Dolls for me. Like, if I'm bringing Wicked Dolls, then I can start thinking about taking Hinamatsu, or not Hinamatsu, Vasilisa.
Okay.
Sorry, all the puppet henchmen that are no longer henchmen.
I fixed things slightly. I don't care if you agree. I'm a Neverborn.
Yeah, no, like I like
Solid.
Vasilisa when puppet or Wicked Dolls are in play for like scooping them up and getting scoring done. But I don't know that I really care about healing Hinamatsu with Vasilisa.
Yeah, a bunch
Like,
of staggered's nice though, especially if they make bad decisions, right?
Sure.
Haku,
but,
what do you?
I don't know.
Yeah, Haku, what do you think on Vasilisa?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Let's jump into the first out of keyword minion. Got just a couple models left. We got some mature Nephilims. They're really good, fast beaters. They cost 10. In out of keyword, they'll be 11. They have black blood, which occasionally just wrecks things if they try and go after it. And you can't cheat if you try and melee them. The problem is they are actually allergic to guns. But they have fly with me, which is the best Hinamatsu delivery system. They have terrorize and they have heavy claws. They're 3/4/6 with shove aside and execute. Right, so like they're good out of keyword in all kinds of places. But what's the specific case, Dixon, that you hire these guys in?
So I need to play it in Pandora 2. I haven't done that yet, but I played a few games already in Pandora 1 with the mature Nephilim because I know this is gonna sound a little bit weird, but like power rituals on the on the pool, and we're playing either covert ops or we're playing raids. He can just go by himself, and you're right, I don't play him into a gun crew. I haven't yet. But obviously we all know what the power of the matures is, and him by himself, even with Ancient Pact, somehow 13 points doesn't feel that expensive.
Fair enough. I mean, I think if you need a crap ton of movement, they move 6, and then their bonus action is they place themselves within 4, right? Which is out of 50 mil is another 6, so 18 inches down the board every turn is pretty strong.
And you give him fast. Like in every game that I've done it, Candy activates, gives him fast, deals 2 damage, and then she gets into a good position. Because literally after you do that, then you don't need to see him anymore.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you fast him once, and then he's 24 inches down the board, and that's kind of a thing. Landon, what do you think? Matures?
Yeah, they're good. They deliver people with Fly With Me. They kind of fulfill that idyllic super solo role for like being the thing that goes and scores some like out of the way points and make sure your opponent doesn't get those. So like those 2 weird corner ballots in ballots, your opponent sends anything there, mature Nephilim probably beats the shit out of it, even if it's like a first mate. Like first mate doesn't hit the mature Nephilim.
Sure. Yeah.
So like he's kind of just like that escalating power scale of how many points do I want to send to the corner to try and get those strap points, and he's kind of like the fuck it, I'm all in on this type thing.
He's fought over. He actually fought a mature Nephilim Emissary, which is the reason why I laughed when you mentioned it, because that was actually one of the games. He fought Klaus, which kind of surprised me, and he fought what's the stupid thing that's a spider in Explorer Society?
Night Silk Reaver.
There you go. That thing. Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah, he'll kill all those.
Yeah, he did. He literally did.
Wild. I thought you were talking about Nexus. Stupid thing, spider spores. We did it. Okay, it's fine. I don't like Nexus. Let's. Fair enough. Do you disagree strongly with my placement, Dixon? I mean, I think that they're definitely.
No, I don't disagree. He's one of those. I mean, he's going up in my ranks, but right now I don't have enough games with him. I only have 4, and so far he's been like an MVP.
I kind of like him for exactly the same reasons you described liking Thoon. I just feel like he does it slightly better than Thoon does, because he just kills them instead of pillaring them.
And he is much faster.
That would not be surprising if I end up in the same assessment, because the thing is that Thoon, I carried over from GG3 because I only play Thoon in raids if I'm going to play him now. I haven't yet in GG4, but raids is just a better version of
Guard Stash.
Exactly.
fair enough. But the mature gets to the back rank of the double points regardless dash, whereas Thoon I feel like doesn't. But
exactly right.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, last couple of little boyos. We got these wicked dolls. I don't know if I have ever played a game running Neverborn without a wicked doll. Certainly, they used to be so much fucking better in Pandora 2 because they used to make her actually unkillable.
Yeah.
But they are a 3-stone significant model with stealth. They have Accomplice, which is occasionally relevant. They have Stolen Breath, which is not. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. You do you, I guess. They have the same exact attack as Vasilisa. It's just like you're never going to use it because why would you do this? They're schemers through and through. They have Creep Along, which is really strong. They have Threaten, which again is irrelevant. But you can threaten your own models with an irrelevant keyword. Oh, no, you can't, because on your heels is enemy only. Never mind. There's no point to threaten ever with them, I think, maybe. Maybe you do it sometimes if you have already schemed all of your strats and schemes. Yeah. I don't know. You think my assessment is crazy, Dixon?
I mean, they're 3 points of significant models that are stealth. I honestly, just on that alone, I'm very happy with them.
Yeah, you run them up the board, they drop ski markers, they interact with things, they can get points, places.
Yes. If they die, I'm like, that was 3 points.
Man, do these guys love voting.
They are so good at like dumb things. Like you can run them by themselves sometimes because like the opponent will be like all their beater schemers will be on the opposite end or something. And like you'll see this little thing just go into a corner and be like, vote. Or give me an intel token, or do something stupid like I'll drop a scheme marker to get ensnare or something like that. I love these guys.
Yeah. I think they're certainly guys that are cool, and I really enjoy hiring them. Plus, the models are great. Landon.
Well, they were my least favorite puppet when I was playing puppets, as far as the sculpts are concerned. But
okay.
I would put them top of sometimes, to be honest. Like these things will show up that frequently.
Yeah.
They're
just
I
they're
do
just
disagree
such a good
that
point cost.
Their
though.
attacks are worthless, but I think there's value there after things have happened.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
obviously you're not hiring them for their combat ability.
Yeah.
That's an incidental.
My point is just that if they get within 6 inches of something, they melt immediately because they're 3 inches. They're 3 health, defense 4 with no defensive attack.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But sometimes you just can't be bothered to kill them.
Yeah, that's true.
Other stuff.
It is. I'm paying 3 points to waste your AP, which if you can like cheat them out of a hit, sometimes also is just an absurd value.
Oh, it feels terrible. I've had tournament games where my opponent's like, I just missed a focus attack on this model. Just and then I'm completely down after that.
I think you just quit the game. I think that you're like, well done. Thank you for the game. It was lovely.
Oh.
Haku, what do you think? Wicked dolls? Are they wicked? Or are they hella wicked or wicked hella?
Bork.
Okay.
How did I know that was what you were going to
wild.
say?
Who would have guessed? All right, fine. We've saved the Borkist for last. Let's talk about these little doggos. So they're no talk, but corrupted hounds are a 4-stone model, which outside of what do you call it, Nekama, they're obviously going to cost you 5.
No.
I think you did your math a bit wrong.
Yeah,
there,
dude.
friend.
Yeah.
Oh, 3. I'm sorry. I have the
3
sorry.
and 4.
Sorry. They're 3-stone models. They're 3-stone models that are going to cost you 4 in Pandora. They have Black Blood. They have Nimble, which is sort of wild. They have 4 health regen. They have an attack. They have an aura that gives people distracted, and they also have a bonus action which summons another one for a suitless 6. Oh, for a 6 of crows. Sorry, a crow at 6 or higher. And also, I guess we should mention that because of the function of their thing, which is this, they summon the other ones with stunned. You can infinitely summon them in this crew because you can just rip the stun off with any model's opportunity.
You just have to find a corpse first, which is harder to come by in this crew.
There you go.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still shocked at how good these models are because I reviewed these models and I thought they were hot garbage until I begrudgingly put them on the table, and I was like, oh my god, these models are nuts.
No, I've read this card. I've been explained what has happened by both Haku and Landon and Doug whilst drinking margaritas in a weird taco place, which is the optimal reception ability, I think, situation for Corrupted Hounds. And I've played against them with Doug like 5 times. I still think they're garbage, and I would never play them ever.
Wow.
But,
that's pretty weird.
That is...
Wow. Why? All right, so Dixon, what do you got? You got anything on this?
I don't want to play them in Pandora, but and I personally
just because lack of corpses.
Yeah, well, not only lack of corpses is this is a wrong thought, but I played Wicked Doll so often that I don't want to have to relearn how to play a model that I know for a fact it's good because I played it in Keyword and I was like, holy crap, this model's nuts. So it's just that it's basically me being a little bit lazy with a model that I already don't like.
Okay, Landon, what are your thoughts?
So before Haku starts saying bork 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 again,
I assume cut to 25 minutes of Haku just saying bork over and over.
Bork.
He's become the dog. No, the some advice I actually gave him for one of his games that he played recently was to just take these things out of Keyword for Castor, and you could argue that Castor makes corpses better, but I don't think I gave him a list with any corpse gen.
Nope.
The idea basically there is that you don't necessarily have to have them score points on anything other than like turn 3, 4, 5, or even just turn 4, 5, because these things are fast enough to just like dirtle around in your backfield with Nimble and just wait for the right opportunity. And like if they can just double walk and make another one off of a corpse that happened in the midfield somewhere on like turn 3, I think you're happy with the value proposition you're going to get out of them. And that's likely the argument Haku's going to make. But otherwise, like if you compare this to the Wicked Doll, they end up being slightly similar, except this one's faster and doesn't have to hit a TN for its third AP in exchange for that stealth. So, it depends on how relevant stealth is to the matchup.
The one more wound is so huge.
Yeah,
sure.
That's a fair point. All right, well, Haku, before you say anything, can you just give me like a sentence of like maybe 10 to 12 borks in different tones, like you're actually saying the word, so I can remix it into what it sounds like you saying like 12 minutes of borks for a separate video project?
Bork, bork, bork. Bork?
Bork?
Bork, bork. Bork. Bork, bork. Bork. Bork! Bork, bork.
Nice.
Okay. These things are borking, guys.
They're borking.
They're just so borking good.
Man, I'm gonna have so much fun with that post.
I always knew they were good. I've played with them in Nekoma, where obviously they shine, and I'm going to talk about why they're amazing outside of Nekoma, and pretty much, I think, every Neverborn crew.
Okay.
Because you just hire 2 of them. And that list Lana talked about that he gave me, I've played it now with the dogs, just hiring 2 of them elsewhere, and it works really well, like ridiculously well. The fact that you don't consume the corpse marker means you only ever need 1 corpse marker, and it comes with you, you don't leave it. So if something dies in the middle of the map, you can run around the door, bonus action, get a dog, and then run back, and you left the summon dog engaged with the guy, and then now the corpse marker's in your backfield with the dog, and it's a lot easier to perpetually get that corpse. You're talking like your odds of getting drawing like an 8 or 6 of crows of better is like around like 1 in 6. So it's actually much higher than you would think initially hearing that. So you're realistically getting more dogs throughout the game. You maybe save a low crow, use a high crow. There's a lot of ways you can do it. The ability to summon infinitely is kind of funny to have in Woe. You're not getting the corpse turn 1. Maybe if you have like a hand of crows and you summon 2 dogs, you just kill 1 and then summon 3. If you actually just drew a crow hand, not the worst thing to do in the world to just get all 4 dogs out at once. But that's like magical Christmas land.
Yeah, I mean, also if you do that, you're
end,
not gonna have any cards the
rest
rest
of the
of
run.
the
If you never draw a crow big enough, is that 12-inch interact threat range. That's just massive, and the fact that it's really consistent to get the double interact off, like start phase, is what makes it much better than a Wicked Doll in my mind for that. Because, you actually get to control where you go instead of having to go towards something. Because Creep Along, as amazing as it is, does actually mean you need the models positioned appropriately for it. You're pushing or move, so you're going in a straight line. You can't go up things because that's just how apparently we're ruling, moves. So you get blocked a lot with Creep Along, and Nimble is just ridiculously better for obvious reasons, and that becomes really clutch. Big downside, can't get out of engagement like the Wicked Doll can.
Yeah, I will say, Creep Along, usually you can do pretty much what you want with it because only one of your moves needs to be it. So unless they're the only thing that's up the board, which is unlikely to be it, it's usually it's more versatile than it seems. I think, at least in my experience, it is.
I definitely agree. I think the big counterpoint is we have to drop the schemes. We have to drop the scheme markers around enemy models now.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance you don't have one on the the opposite side of the enemy model. So you have to drop with the corrupted hounds. You can drop the scheme marker, walk around their engagement, charge through it, whatever you want to do. Well, you can't charge because you got to use Nimble, but drop, walk around, drop again becomes a very real play style. And one of the things that is also really nice is without that TN flip, because as we talked about, Pandora does get hungry for cards. Failing low TN flips can be decently bad. Yeah. When you have these like X number of scheme markers, dirtling with hounds becomes like hilarious. They're like, oh, I need to get more scheme markers on your side of the board than there are scheme markers on the board. And it's like, all right, well, turn 1 I drop 4 scheme markers. Turn 2 I drop 4 more scheme markers, and then just have my dogs hidden in the back line. It's like that scheme's dead to you now.
Yeah.
So there's just so much play currently for corrupted hounds.
Yeah.
The biggest downside, obviously, is not having stealth. So you can't. If you're probably not slapping Ancient Pact on these guys. But I've kind of learned I don't even care. I mean, I like the card draw. Don't get me wrong, but putting it on like a beefier model to just keep that +1 to initiative throughout the game, when initiative is becoming so important in our strats, I don't know.
No,
That's the big trade-off for me right now.
You raise a lot of interesting points. I don't know. Maybe I will consider these more heavily in the event that I go back to Neverborn off of my current Reser high.
I'm going to say this.
Gotta sniff that.
Do not sleep on corrupted hounds because of the corpse. The corpse problem is not going to happen unless you both are feeling like all ink crews, and that's just not going to happen. You have models that drop corpses in this crew. They will die. And they probably, if they decide to waste more time killing dogs than killing that model, you're probably fine.
That does depend. That does depend heavily on how out of keyword or not out of keyword you go, right? Because, like, although technically you do
always have candy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. Your plan isn't that Candy dies to drop the corpse for your dogs.
Your
dog is going to die to drop the corpse for your dog. You're hiring 2 dogs. As long as they don't die back to back, you're fine.
Yeah, a dog will. But like every other model, almost in the entire crew outside of Iggy, which maybe you want to do that, and like Baby Kade is just doesn't drop any markers when they die because they're just ghosts. So you have less.
That's never been a problem for me.
But you're definitely going to kill your opponents.
You only ever need one, and you can keep that with you. And the greatest part is you can do it aggressively because you take the corpse marker, run to their back corner of the map, and then you just summon more dogs as you go. So if they only send one guy to go fight you, just next turn,
maul them with a pack of rabid dogs, I guess. This is stupid, and it shouldn't be that way. The summon needs to consume the marker.
It should use the corpse marker, but until it does, this is insane.
Yeah.
No matter what faction you're in, because you don't need corpse marker generation, you only ever need the one corpse. It's bonkers.
All right, where am I putting this 8-point model?
So
honestly, for me, this is going to be my super
I'm gonna vomit
take.
Audibly into my microphone if you say auto include. I just want.
I would just put it above Wicked Doll.
Okay.
Nah.
That's okay. I'm not gonna. No.
Landon,
where should I put this model?
Next to Wicked Doll?
Okay.
They're functionally similar.
Dixon, where should I put this model?
I mean, first off, I put the mature like right below the mysterious emissary, and I'll put the dog after the mature. That's how I would put it.
Okay, I agree. Doll after mysterious.
No,
Dog
not
after
not wicked
mysterious
doll, not
emissary.
wicked doll,
That's what I meant
dog.
to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. I am sad about that. That's
mature
fine.
Mature goes right below a mysterious emissary.
Probably
and a
fine.
dog.
I'm gonna say this. Every Neverborn player out there, you guys who hire your 2 wicked dolls, replace them with 2 dogs, and you're going to have a better games.
Okay, if you pizza when you should have French fry, you're gonna have to. All right, this has been an emotional roller coaster that I was not prepared for, and I am now filled with woe. So I guess ultimately, thanks. Yeah. All right. As promised, this is Editing Brandon back to talk about Delirium and Delirious Thrall. So first, we'll talk about Delirium, who is a 9-stone enforcer. This guy's really good. He does a bunch of super cool things for the crew. Firstly, he's just like an in-keyword beater, so you don't have to hire a mature Nephilim, because for the same points as a mature Nephilim out of keyword, you can hire Delirium and put an upgrade on him. He's not quite as fast, but he is a min 3 beater, which is really strong. He's incorporeal and terrifying, which means he's kind of hard to remove. Defense 5 is not great, but willpower 6 is pretty good. He is move 6, so he is still kind of fast in his own right. And also for front of card abilities, he has Misery and Opportunist because he's a Pandora model, but he has Opportunist on Adversary, which is a really interesting one, which sort of buffs Wicked Dolls. It sort of buffs Vasilisa because you have the synergy there. But like it makes Threaten on Wicked Dolls much more reasonable. And then his attack is a stat 6 against defense, which is fine. It's a min 3. It's got a Touch of Madness trigger, which you can't build in because unfortunately he's an enforcer, but like Touch of Madness, making your opponent discard a random card, super, super strong. And you can take cards removed from the game with his Tome trigger and draw them, which is effectively card draw. But his bonus actions are really interesting. So he has Lucid Dream, right? That's how you remove the cards from the game. Unlike when you're playing in a Dreamer crew, those cards aren't going anywhere. Once you remove them, they're there forever. So if you hit a high card, you can draw it back with his Repressed Memories. But if you don't hit a high card, you just are out a low card. It's just gone. You don't ever have to worry about flipping that 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever for the rest of the game, which is really strong. His other bonus action is a neat attack that's a stat 6 against willpower. It gives out Adversary, which he can then end for plus flips, but it's Adversary him, so you get plus flips anyway. But it is his Misery ability, so if you're within 6, you're proccing Misery on his attack, and it can give them a neg flip to willpower duels generated by this model until the end phase, which means if they try and punch him back, they will have a flat neg flip to the Terrifying check, which is crazy. If you attack them with Psychotic Influence, they'll have a neg flip to that as well, and you'll have a plus flip because of the adversary that you get from them, which is nuts. And then he also has Psychotic Influence, the attack I talked about, which is stat 6 against willpower, which is very strong, 8 inches, baked in RAM, and it makes the target either suffer 1/3/4 or end a condition, and if you end a condition, then they get a condition of the target's choice. So it's enemy only, which is kind of sad. You can't just double Pandora, give your whatever model you want fast, but you can end their focus, you can end their shielded, put nasty stuff on them, distracted, slow, stunned, staggered, stunned to trigger other miseries off of other models that are close by, and built in, when resolving, you can end a condition on the target. If this does so, the target suffers +1 damage. So you can do the damage and still end the condition. You could end a condition, give them a new condition, end the condition and give them a damage. You can end their fast or their second focus if they don't spend it defensively on the attack, and flip it into something else, and they're shielded for an extra damage. Super, super versatile built in. And then also it has one of the better triggers in the game, which is Glimpse the Void, which is just bury the target at the start of its activation and bury it within 1 inch of any enemy model. So you can displace the model that you attack by any model that's in their crew, which, we've talked about that at length. It's super, super strong. It's super, super versatile. You do have to have a high tome in your hand to do it, and this is as we mentioned already, a card-hungry crew, but the dude's very, very stable. I played a couple games with him so far, and I really like him. And for that reason, we're going to put him in sometimes include in both. I think that there's definitely a good circumstance where you want to do that. for sure. Now, let's talk about the Delirious Thrall, the other minion, the other model that comes in the box. It's a minion 3, 5 stones. So this guy is 6 health. He has 6 defense, which is crazy. 4 willpower, not great, but what are you going to do? Move 5. Misery, and just like his, Delirium himself, Opportunist Adversary, so all of the same sort of synergy applies. He has a really interesting defensive trigger called Misdirection, so immediately another model within 2 inches of this model has to either discard a card or suffer the effects of this action instead of the model. You can't choose the attacking model, but if they just suddenly are in the middle of your opponent's crew, this can be really effective hand pressure. And because they're defense 6, with this trigger baked in on defense, and they are, just sort of in Pandora, right? 6 is a lot of health. It's possible that people one-shot them, but if they're having to attack them multiple times, because they just are summoned in the middle of your opponent's crew, that can be super, super strong. Their basic melee attack's kind of lame. It's just a stat 5, 1, 2, 3. But if they share suits, it's a 3, 2, 1 instead, which is very cool, because you're probably going to flip weak damage, and 3 damage is pretty good. It has also a ram to give them adversary Delirious Thrall, which is interesting, because after they go, the bigger boyo, Mr. Delirium, can then end that adversary condition on them, which is pretty cool. They have Threaten, which makes adversary more reasonable. It triggers, obviously, their misery. It triggers Delirium's misery, and you get to choose the keyword, so you could also do adversary X. I'm going to do my out of keyword dog, or my keyworded beaters that I summoned out of keyword. Whatever you want to do with those. And it's stat 4, which blows, but it's got a baked in plus flip, so you're going to hit occasionally. It's got Daze, which is nice. It's got On Your Heels, which is pretty good, because again, you get them in the middle of the crew. These guys also, though, have just Glimpse Insanity, so that combos super well with the crew. It's stat 5 against willpower. It also combos with their Misery ability, because stunned is always a thing. And their other bonus action is neat. It's called House of Mirrors. It's until end phase friendly models that are in Aura 4 gain Misdirection. And then you on a crow, you can choose a non-joker 5 or less and add to your control hand. But giving a bunch of models in a small bubble Misdirection, especially when this model is hiding behind them and unreachable, can be really, really tricky for your opponents to deal with. Granted, the Misdirection keyword is not built in on those models usually, so you will have to flip for it. But there's stuff you can do. Do I think you're gonna hire this model a lot? No, that's why we're putting him. I'm just probably jam him in Never Hire. I probably would put him at the top of Never Hire, quite frankly, or maybe the bottom of Sometimes Hire. But what I will say is, because Pandora 2 is a summoner and this is a Woe Minion, he is a great summon for a bunch of reasons. And chiefly amongst them is not just the Misdirection causes card pressure for your opponents, especially when you summon them in a cluster of your opponent's models, ideally on turn 1, but also, really, really importantly, out of all of the things that you can summon, this is the only one that's not incorporeal, because these guys, unlike Delirium, aren't ghosts. They're just people that wandered into his weird mirror thing and now have mirrors growing out of them. It's fine. But you'll find that the incorporeal models with a 1-inch melee range basically trap your opponent within a roughly 3-inch circle without a disengage action. But these guys don't do that. They can body block, right? You can't walk through them. You have to kill them. It's going to be card pressure to kill them if you summon them right. And so being able to have the extra level of flexibility with Pandora 2 to summon these guys and actually physically block spaces instead of just letting your opponents walk through your 1-inch reach ghosts is super strong, right? So I think that there's a super, super strong case for summoning the Delirious Thralls. And I love these models. I can't wait until they come out. They look so, so cool. But yeah, back to your regularly scheduled Danger Planning again. This has been a blast. Thank you, Hako and Lana, for coming on as always. Dixon, it was great having you. I'm super excited that you came on. We absolutely have to have you back for when we do puppets and other Neverborn stuff as well. So you will be on the hopefully you had a good time. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
It was a blast. It was definitely a blast.
All right, so that's it for Pandora. Thanks so much for watching. If you have a second, please take a look at our Discord. The link should be below. definitely check out our Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our Patreon subscribers who you can see on the screen now. You guys make these videos possible, but also you let us, buy our equipment and our software without having to pay insane amounts of money, because we don't make a lot of money off the YouTube channel. So thanks so much. But keep it here. We'll have more tier list stuff coming soon. Sorry the break's been so long. But yeah, thanks so much. Have a good time. Like and subscribe. Danger Planet out.